There are times where I feel like I would be more insulted if someone kind of like pulled out an old school insult, like a blockhead.
Oh yeah,
I'd be because
that's Charlie Brown right there.
Well, yeah, it's like if you just curse at me, like I've been cursed at 100 times, like that's like that's love language in a lot of ways.
People curse at you a lot,
but like lovingly. But if someone
who's lovingly cursing at you?
all my friends. But like
you got weird friends.
They're great.
My friends don't curse at me.
Oh yeah, no, that's definitely common. But if someone pulled out blockhead or bonehead, and I was like, you dug for that.
What about milquetoast?
Yeah,
that's a throwback.
Absolutely. But like, there's something about like, a curse word is just like always ready, depending on who you are anyway. But like, if you really dig down and you pull out like a bonehead or a blockhead, you're like, oh, you went down and got that just for me. Like that's worse. That wasn't ready to go.
Like you did some research on that one.
Like you went back in the brain archives, pulled that out just for me. I'm like, like thanks, I guess, but also okay. That's extra.
But if it's coming from a friend, doesn't that mean it's like even more meaningful though?
I think that
does it depend on the tone?
Well, naughty words always depend on the tone. Like that's why teachers don't like it when kids say like, darn, stuff like that, because although it's the context of the word that's most important. But yeah, I don't know. Okay. There's something to be said for blockhead.
I can't think of anything but Charlie Brown when I
Please don't ever call me a blockhead. That would hurt my feelings.
Well, I'm gonna store it away. Save it up. Save it up for some future.
No. I
You'll have long forgotten about it, but I'll pull that thing out.
Yeah,
and you'll just be like, you probably won't even remember that you ever.
I'll know I brought it upon myself.
Well, I guess we have now evidence of it. So
yeah, there's gonna be like 100 people in the comments. Blockhead.
Yep. So everybody who's hearing that, don't call him a blockhead right away. Wait like a month, because he'll have long forgotten about this.
They'll do that too,
and then do that. Oh yeah, I know. Yeah. I'm fully expecting it.
They'll do it. I had. Do you remember last year at the DC Pen Show, Jade Twyler, whom we created his name, said that comment about how we asked like what pen we would both be, and he from the back was like, "Drew would be a tool pen." I said, just recently we asked for questions on the Pencast, and his name pops in there as like, "What's the difference between Drew and a tool pen?" I'm like. And in my mind, I'm like, guess who's not getting mentioned? But here I am mentioning it. But
there you go.
God. And that was last year.
Now you know how to stick in Drew's memory.
Homie's still hanging on to that.
Insult Drew and he'll remember you. Clever insults. Drew, that'll stick with Drew.
I respect it. I respect the long game. I do.
There you go. All right. You ready?
Yes.
Welcome, everybody, to episode number 142 of the Goulet Pencast, where fountain pens are still a thing. We're back after a week off. And I'm Brian Goulet.
I am Drew Brown.
And we're here from Goulet Pens to deliver this casual and informal, tangential and extraneous, superfluous and extemporaneous fountain pen show where we talk about what's going on at the Goulet Pen Company and in our fountain pen lives. In today's show, we're going to be talking about our plans for the DC Pen Show, which is coming up in early August. Which pens that we particularly enjoy inking up and for which occasions. Questions from a noob about flying with fountain pens. So we'll revisit that one. Our experience with mixing inks, our relationship with other pen retailers, and how competitive the industry is. And then we'll spotlight some Benu as well as other pen holders. And we really want some feedback from you all about pen holders on this one. So it's more of we're posing questions than we are giving information.
Yes.
And yeah, so we really want some feedback on that. So just go ahead and jump to that if you are short on time. And then we have 2 weeks of personal shenanigans to talk about, which I'm sure will be bountiful, at least on my end. So let's kick it off with some feedback.
All right. We're going to talk about Bry right now. Brian.
Not me.
No.
This is another Bry.
Bry _O.
This is Bry with a Y.
Yes.
By the way, got to distinguish that.
That's right. And Bry says... Yeah. Hey, Goulet Pens. After watching the episode of the 823 Clear and Signature nib, I went and got one from your store.
Hey,
thanks for the informative info on the Pencast. Also got the sticker of the Corgi with the 823.
Nice.
Thank you. Made my day. So did the 823, but the Corgi more so.
More so?
Yes. Corgis are the best, Brian. Even... when they refuse to go
it's just a sticker of a
do their business because there was a storm like 3 hours ago that has since passed. And you have to stand out there in the dark night humidity with a leash in the middle of the yard until they do their business.
Mm.
And you try to be patient with them because you don't want to be mad at them because then they might get even more anxious and still not go to do their business. And then you go to bed and you're already wide awake, even though you were almost ready to go to sleep. So that's when you let the dogs out. But now you're awake because you had to stand out there. Corgis are still nice.
This sounds very hypothetical. Not
very
at all
hypothetical.
Like a personal
no,
situation.
they're perfect and wonderful. They would never do a thing like that.
Do you ever feel like your dog is like too domesticated at this point? Like they're taking on our anxieties?
One of them, yeah. One of them, definitely.
Do dogs have that in the wild? Or do they just like not survive? The ones that have like the
That's
ones
a good question.
The ones that can't like pee when it's raining outside?
That's
that
a good
seems
question.
like a very tough thing.
I think that they probably just would not have made it to this point.
Yeah. Probably.
I don't
know.
Anyway, Ron says, oh, this was in relation to my idea for a self-agitating pen that consistently stirs up shimmer so it doesn't clog.
Okay.
Ron has the best idea. Ron is picturing a 7-Eleven style hot dog roller covered in pens with shimmer ink. I love that visual, Ron. That is phenomenal. It makes me happy picturing a 7-Eleven hot dog roller with some taquitos, some quarter pounders, and then some fountain pens.
And those like weird hamburger hot dogs.
Yeah.
That always look so dry.
They look terrible.
These things have been cooking for like 3 days probably.
Yes. Oh, man. But I love that visual. And it's not crazy because they have watch winders that are similar.
Yeah.
So they just rotate, to keep your
like
watch.
A pen winder.
It's just like it's the same concept.
The technology exists.
So Ron, I'm into it. Let's
I still like my squiggle pen idea. I think that is that's the most solid.
Just spray ink everywhere.
It would keep it stirred up, that's for sure.
Oh man, yes. Okay, and then finally, oh my God, did I add 2 things from Bri?
Looks
I
like
totally
you did.
I did not notice that. I guess I just like I like Bri. Okay,
there you go.
This one was on purpose because I did talk to Bri about this.
Okay,
but anyway, Drew. Those are Super 7 reaction figures. This was me in response to me complaining about the articulation of certain G.I. Joes.
Okay.
And this comment just reminded me of like how we can throw out the most random topic in the Pencast and somebody will be like, I am an expert on that thing that you just mentioned. And in this, so I was complaining about these G.I. Joe action figures not being legit, not being super retro. And Bri describes exactly what they are. They're a 3-inch scale, and they're like Funko Pops, one size / form for all of them. They're overpriced, but some lines are okay. Check out the Sesame Street reaction figures. No, thank you. As an action figure collector and fountain pen collector, who's 40? Hey, seeing you gripe about the Super 7 G.I. Joe made my day. So
wait, are the Super 7 ones the ones that had the good articulation?
The bad articulation.
The bad articulation. Yeah. What are the good ones then?
He says to check out the classified series 6-inch scale ones. So I just thought that was hilarious.
Apparently.
It popped up on my Instagram because this guy's Instagram is 100% action figures. And he took a video of the screenshot while he's watching the Pencast of me complaining and was just like, yes, they suck.
That's awesome.
So
that's awesome.
Here he is with his action figure channel, highlighting the Pencast because some random dude talking about fountain pens usually is now on his soapbox complaining about action figures, which apparently was his personal bullseye. So
wow, Brian, it feels very seen, I'm sure.
Yeah, I just love that. And this isn't the first sort of comment we've got about that. We can hit any sort of tangential topic and somebody out there is going to be like, that's actually my jam.
Yeah.
So
it helps that we have like many different hobbies and passions and obsessions. So
yes, indeed. Anyway,
we cast a wide net in that.
Bri happened to be the star of this unintentionally.
That's awesome.
But anyway, what'd you got?
All right, I got one from W. Nelson. Says, I started watching the Pencast in early 2023. Welcome. I've seen every episode. Whoa, so you went back then from the beginning. This was my favorite episode because I was able to enjoy it with my week-old grandson. You both feel like friends and the baby approves as well. Well, congratulations on that. On the watching the episodes, the grandson is like, the baby's happen all the time. But I'm totally kidding. That's really awesome. Wow, multi-generation. That is weird to think about though, because we've been around long enough now where that kind of thing could start to happen. Like my kids were, Joseph was an infant. Ellie wasn't even born yet. Now Joseph's going into high school. We'll get his learner's permit next year. And I'm like, wow, this is weird. We are not young anymore.
There are some kids that listen and watch. Like I'm always surprised by it because they don't comment.
Right.
But they're out there.
Yeah. I have to keep that in mind when I'm wanting to say some of the things that I want to say.
Well,
sometimes.
maybe we should just increase the amount of fart jokes because they like that.
I mean,
who doesn't?
I love fart jokes. I have never outgrown that. And I'm at the point now where I'm like, I'm not going to outgrow it. They're probably just going to get funnier as I get older and I don't care as much.
Agreed.
Yeah. I will, because I'm getting older and my farts are bountiful and voluminous. But I will not on an irregular basis crank one out and just crack up myself, even if nobody else is around. I'm
That's
just so
amazing.
amused by it.
Oh, no. I've definitely laughed at myself before, too.
Oh, yeah. You gotta
That's
enjoy
good.
it. It's the little
That's good.
things in life, you know?
There you go. That's for you kids. Enjoy.
Awesome. There you go. You don't have to ever outgrow fart jokes.
No.
Okay. David Ottoman says, congratulations on picking up Scribo. You're very welcome. Or thank you. You're welcome. Whatever. Both. David says, I've got 2 already, one 14K, the Flex, and one 18K. Both offer an amazing experience. I agree. Different experiences, but both good. The only caution is that once you have one, it's really hard not to want another in some variants. The wasted shape fits so amazingly well in the hand and looks amazing too. Well, there you go. Personal testimonial. Testimonial? Is that the right word? Yeah, from David there. Is that the right word?
Yeah.
Testimonial. Yeah. Okay, cool.
Endorsement.
Yeah. There you go. All right. And then Jordan says, in regard to the listener who is having their pen unscrew itself, here is what you do in these situations.
You asked me to include this.
Yes, I did. Because Jordan emailed us and was like, yeah, Brian was wrong. And I'm able to admit that. Because I think I hedged against myself pretty heavily in the last
I don't think
episode.
you did not extol any sort of expertise there.
No.
Which we know better on this show.
I hedged thinking that I probably said the wrong color, and I did. Anyway, context. So last time we had somebody that said that their metal pen, like the metal body on some metal threads, can unscrew itself while writing. So Jordan says, in regard to the listener who's having the pen unscrew itself, here's what I do in these situations. Look for Loctite blue. I think I said it might have been the red last time. Red is the one that is more permanent. Blue is the one that is less permanent. Very important to get the blue and not the red. Loctite blue is a temporary medium hold thread sealer and locker. It comes in a small applicator tube and can be found at any hardware store, Amazon, Walmart, craft shop, whatever. Usually less than $5, I think. If Loctite red is used, your pen will never come apart without breaking something. Red is permanent. I have used red before and I've broken plenty of red. Not like broken the things, but like whatever. If I'm using on like lawnmowers and tractor stuff,
if it's
like
like
that.
steel on steel.
Yeah. I'll use the red and it can still, it's not permanent. It's
but
not
if they're
it's not like glue, but
plastic
it's
components, that would be tricky.
I've never tried it on that.
Yeah.
I always associated with it using it just for metal, but I don't know. I've never experimented with it too much outside of that. And I've never tried it on a pen. So Jordan says, for pen threads, use an exceptionally small amount of the liquid. I dip a toothpick into the tube and dab a drop on the threads, then immediately screw the pen together. Be careful not to over tighten the threads. Just snug is best. The Loctite dries in about 30 seconds to 1 minute. It will take a bit of finger strength the next time you need to open the pen, but it won't leak or come apart on its own. So, totally up to you. Your mileage may vary and you're doing something outside of probably what's recommended by most manufacturers, but it sounds like Jordan has done it and had success. So give it a shot if you really would like to.
And we did get a few people that did say, yes, that has happened to me. So it's definitely not an isolated incident.
Yeah.
Not a ton, but enough people to, prove that it is somewhat of an issue. A couple of people even said that a plastic pen could do it.
Interesting.
Yeah. So not just metal.
Okay. Respect. Cool. All right. That's it for feedback this week. Let's talk about some new stuff. All right. So kicking it off here, we have some new Sailor Shikiori inks.
And you got to play with these recently.
I did. I have not done official swabs for our site in a minute. That's something that Drew does, or we've got a couple other folks trying to do that. But Drew was out, so I did it. And yes, these were great ones to try to swab because they are unique properties. They've got, they're not as crazy as the Urameku inks. Those ones are the ones that really like shift color a lot. But these ones are very pleasant. So there's 4 colors. They come in a 20 ml bottle. There's a Kamoshika, which is a brown. the Nadeshiko, which is purple, Komakusa green, and Yutsubame, which is pink. And I'm trying to remember which one that I really liked the most. I want to say the purple was the one that stood out to me the most. So, those, I imagine those will behave very differently on different types of paper, because like the swab paper that we use is more like a cardstock, so that it'll like stay flat and stuff when we go to swab it. So it's good. It's for color accuracy, but you don't always get like the full properties of the ink, especially with things like saturation and stuff like that. So I think these will be fun ones to kind of test out. So those are $18. So they're, a little on the premium side, but bottles look really nice, and Sailor makes really high quality inks. So check those out if you're interested. And then we have some new Delta DV Original.
Quite a few.
Oversized colors. Yeah, Delta's, you can tell, are definitely like ramping things up, right? So they got a bunch of stuff coming out. They brought back the Masterpiece, the orange and black swirl. So they used to have this back in the day. Looks really nice though. It's definitely got a Halloween-y kind of a vibe to it, but that one's pretty nice. And then there's the Magnifica, which is all black, which looks pretty good. These are in like the $600 to $700 range for these ones. Come gold nibs. And these come with the gold big ones, the number 8 size Yovo nibs, which write really nice.
With ebonite feeds too.
Ebonite feeds, yeah. So they perform really well. Back before they shut down, they used to have Bach nibs, which were pretty good, but I like these ones even better.
I definitely do.
Yeah, I had to write with all of them again to redo the nib nook, because they're all different nibs than what they were before. And that was a very enjoyable experience. And then there's the Oro, which is like an orange flecked color. So this one, I don't know if I want to say deviates more from the typical what you think of with the Delta, but it's straight up orange, which looks really nice too. So I think it's the same like orange kind of material that's in the regular.
It looks like it,
but there's just no black. It's just all orange.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool. Yeah. So these all feature the 14 karat Yovo number 8 size nibs. The Oro has gold hardware, and the Magnifica and the Masterpiece have silver hardware, which is pretty cool. And then the Riviera Blue. So this one looks awesome. I don't even know how many we have left. So
this is a Brian color.
Oh yeah, for sure.
If there ever was one.
Yeah. I mean, it's a Jonathan Brooks resin, so it's already going to look awesome. So they did them. They're very limited quantities. I think it's like 25 of each trim.
I think that's right.
So we don't have very many of them, which is why I don't even know if they'll still be around by the time this publishes, but if they are, you should go check them out right now. It's like a light and dark blue kind of swirl. It looks amazing. It's got sparkle in it, and it just looks so good. Yeah, there's a gunmetal and a rose gold hardware. Both look awesome. So yeah, check those out. $716 for that though. So, but it's got the same, big number 8 size nib and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, anyway, that's what I got.
Those are a lot of big pens.
A lot of big pens.
Yes, indeed.
I'm a big fan of the big pens.
Ferris Wheel Press coming out with a new ink available now.
Oh, that's weird.
I know, right? They never do this.
I feel like they've been very stagnant.
Boring old
nice
Ferris
to see
Wheel Press.
something new from them. Yeah.
Yes, and this is another Fairy Tales ink. So the little bottle with a lot of shimmer. It's called Curious Woods, or Woods, if you want to call it that.
Should be wood.
Yes.
Wood would make
Curious
more sense.
Wood. Curious Woods sounds like something from a Zelda game.
I keep thinking of Curious George. I can't, like just Curious something.
Okay.
Curious George always pops in my head.
Yeah, I just think like 90s RPG. I don't know why.
Oh, it's funny. Yeah, for sure.
Anyway, 20 mil, 20 bottle. It is a brown ink with some shimmer. They describe it as duochrome green pink shimmer.
Cool. It looks really cool.
It's pretty neat.
It looks cool in the bottle because like you can see the shimmer in there, and you can see it like kind of color shifting in the bottle, which is neat.
Yeah, definitely 2 colors in there.
Mm-hmm.
And then
put in your squiggle pen.
Oh gosh,
that'd be great.
Super clean. The Benu Euphoria launched with 2 additional colors as well. We've got another 2 cocktails, in fact, Bloody Mary and Blue Hawaiian. Both of these are $157. Bloody Mary is obviously red with some sparkliness happening in it, and Blue Hawaiian is a really unique color combination of blue and gold, kind of like a Caribbean blue with some really dense gold, not like loose gold fleck like you often see with
like
Benu,
opaque almost.
But very dense, very like, it is almost like a opaque clump of shimmer. It's really neat. Go check it out. Or you'll see a picture right now. Hooray.
There you go.
And then we've got an exclusive pen having launched this week, the Monteverde Invincia in turquoise. So this is a special edition available only at Goulet Pen Company for $72. You get yourself a Yovo nib, cartridge converter sort of situation there. And it's got a really cool contrast with the turquoise and black hardware, including a black nib. So it looks really neat. And
it's very clean.
Yeah, very, very sharp looking. Yeah, very cool. Don't know how long we're going to have those, but we have them now. So if you want one, grab one. We'll see. And then you didn't expect it, but Puni Labo is coming out with some new stand-up pen pencil cases with some new creatures.
Some new animals.
So $19.99, just like the other ones. But in addition to the amazing corgi one that they have, we're also going to see the addition of a squirrel, a fox, a koala, a raccoon. So lots of interesting forest creatures. The squirrel surprised us for a bit. We didn't know exactly what the squirrel was, but I was told that it's more of a Japanese style squirrel. So not sure if that's legit. So
to me, it looks like a middle-aged man with a comb over.
So yeah, please, somebody who is an expert in Japanese squirrels, let us know if this is legit or not. Either way.
I did some Googling.
Oh, you Googled it?
Oh, they got some squirrels over there.
Oh, they do?
They have... That's where they have
they got some squirrels over there.
They do. They have a few different species that they're known for, 2 of which are flying squirrels.
Okay.
There's the giant flying squirrel. If you Google that thing, they look terrifying. They look like bats, but they can get to be like 18 inches long. So they're massive. And I'm just trying to picture a giant flying squirrel jumping out of the trees and just like gliding down.
It's like a possum.
Yeah, they're
it's
huge.
Like a flying possum.
They're huge.
God.
I think it's 18 inches just at like from like butt to head.
Not wingspan.
No, I forget what the wingspan is. It's like I don't know what it is. At least 1.5 feet. But then their tail also is longer too. So they can be like almost 3 feet long with the tail. Yeah, just imagine this giant thing, like the size of this table almost, just like flying through the air over your head.
So did one of them have the 3 stripe things on their head?
No, none of them were yellow either. So I don't know why. They get some artistic license, you know?
Cool.
It's cool.
Either way,
still cute.
Puni Labo's cool. We like them. Hopefully you do too. If you do, buy it. If you don't, don't. The end.
Cool. Is that it?
Yeah, we need to do some company updates.
Okay, let's update some company updates. Let's do it. We actually have a few company updates this week. Imagine that. One, we have a video that this guy put out over here on the Benu Euphoria because there's kind of a few of them now. So he gives an overview of all those. So you can check that out. It published this week. And then we also have a What's New video that will be made and then published in between this recording and this publishing. But that should be pretty good, catching up on all the new things that we've launched recently, which will be cool. We also are going to be closed. We have a mental health half day here at Goulet Pens on Friday. So our customer care team will not be available Friday afternoon, and we will not be shipping any orders on a Friday afternoon, but we're usually pretty caught up by then anyway. And then we'll just catch up on Monday. So just be aware of that. We also want to let you know that we have an open position for somebody in customer care. So if you are interested or you know somebody who's in the Richmond area or available to be in the Richmond area and is interested in applying, you can go to our website, click on Join Our Team, and you can see all of the qualifications there. So yeah, basically, I would imagine this is a pretty captive group of people that might be interested in such a thing. So yeah.
It is not a remote position, and it cannot be. I've already got a couple people asking me that, and the answer is no. Unfortunately
not. We're a little too immersive, here. We got to be able to get our hands on pens and stuff. But anyway, let somebody know if you know anybody in this area or if you are. So I will say, depending on when you're watching this video, we may have already closed the position, but because it's not going to be open forever. But this will live on YouTube for as long as we leave it up. So it'll probably be open for most of July. I don't know exactly how long we'll leave it up. It all depends on how many people apply. But we'll leave it up at least for a couple of weeks. So there you go. And then last thing, I was going to mention about the DC Pen Show, but then I realized it was the first question in our Q&A. So I will leave you on the edge of your seat for the next 15 seconds. But that is it for the company updates. And now we'll start the Q&A. All right, Drew, what's the first question we got here?
Well, you wouldn't believe it, Brian, but Millie Militant is asking us this. what is your plans for the DC Pen Show? This will be my first year attending.
Hey.
Well, Millie,
That's
do we
exciting.
have some news for you?
That's exciting. So our plans for the DC Pen Show is to go. We will not be working a table, so we will not be selling things at the show.
Or will we have one anchored position at any given time?
We are basically going to be kind of like ninjas that will just kind of lurk around the show and then jump out and attack people when they're not ready. So I would say prepare for that, but you won't be able to because that's the whole point of being a secret ninja at the show. We've been enough times and we know where all the secret passages are. We've got, tunnels and walls and I personally have an outfit that looks like the wallpaper of the ballroom. So
He's
I can
very
just
inconspicuous.
stand up like this and people won't see me.
You wouldn't think looking at him, but trust me.
I can be surprisingly camouflaged. Yeah,
Quite.
You'd be surprised. Yeah. I'm kidding. I'm huge and I cannot be ignored. So we're going to be going to the show. At least we are. Janae's planning to go. We're still firming up who else might be going, but in an official capacity, what we'll be doing at the show is we'll be doing a Pencast recording, just like we did last year. Last year we did episode 100. It just happened to work out. This year it's going to be episode 145 or something. I don't know, not a special number, but we'll be doing basically the same thing. So we'll have a live audience. We will, I think, take questions live from the thing. I don't know,
Probably.
we haven't worked all those details out, but it really worked last year, and I think we'll do something similar. And then we'll have a meet and greet afterwards. So the nice folks at the show were nice enough to give us a couple of ballrooms there with no time limit to get out of there, so we can just hang out with whoever's there. So that'll be on Sunday. So the show is the weekend. It's the first weekend in August. I can't remember exactly which day is the Sunday. It's the third.
If you go to the
or fourth?
DC Pen Show, DC Super Show website, you can see all the information about our event and all of the other events therein.
August 4th. That is the Sunday. So we'll be there. Fair Falls Church Marriott. I was about to say Fair Lakes. That is not. Falls Church Marriott. We will be there. And we'll be there. I think we're going and we're going to be walking around and stuff on Saturday. So you could see us, if we're not in ninja form, just walking around the show Saturday. And we'll probably stay in the lobby after hours and just try to hang out with people.
We'll be
that's
around.
always fun.
You'll see one of us.
Yeah.
if
It
not
might
both.
get to the point where you're like, God, I just can't get away from them. They just won't leave me alone. But no, so we'll be doing that. It should be fun. Millie didn't really ask what to do to prepare for the show. I know we've talked about that before, but bring cash if you want to limit yourself. I feel like more vendors take Venmo and Apple Cash and all that stuff. So if you have your phone or credit card, I feel like you won't be prohibited too much, but there are probably some people that just only do cash. So
yeah, I'm sure some of the vintage dealers still prefer cash.
probably do cash. Yeah. And I think the ATM usually runs out of money because a lot of people are pulling out cash. So just be ready for that.
It's been better because I think that the entry fee is now no longer cash only. That ATM would always run out of money when the entry fee was cash only.
Gotcha.
I don't think it is anymore, but
that's a good question.
I don't remember because last year I didn't pay because we were we
were
were there
working the show. Yeah.
for it. That was the first year we were there in an official capacity.
Yes. Previously, we just kind of dropped in and we're we're just going to meet in the lobby at 3:00 or whatever. And
I paid for admission.
It became so disruptive that they were finally hey, would you like a ballroom so you're not taking up all the space for everybody? And it works out. So I think it's going to be really crowded. The hotel rooms booked up really quick.
Faster than last year.
Yeah, faster than last year. So I think it's going to be a bonanza, which is always exciting. That's what DC is for. Do you have anything that you're interested in looking at the show in particular?
No, nothing that jumps out at me.
Okay.
I go for the people. I'm surrounded by purchasable fountain pens every day of every day. So
right, you don't need more temptations, more rabbit holes to fall
not
down.
really. You know what I will do though? I will look to encourage you to spend your money.
You are really good at that. You have definitely spent my money at these pen shows
Here's the
before.
thing, Brian. You have holes in your collection that need to be filled.
I know.
You have missing Lamy 2000. No, sorry. You have missing Lamy Safaris. You have missing Pilot Vanishing Points.
I know.
And I'm gonna find some that you're gonna have a hard time saying no to.
I mean, that is kind of vintage Lamies and Pilots are something I've been digging. So
I'm telling. I'm gonna have my eye out for you.
In years past, I honestly don't even look at many pens. because there's so many people, and I
Yeah.
just end up talking to people the whole time. So we'll see if I even like get any time to look at anything that's actually on the tables. Other than, usually what happens for me is like we'll have suppliers that we work with who have things at the show, and they'll either have like something new that they're kind of showcasing at the show, and it's the first time we get to see it in person, or they've got some kind of prototype or sample or something that they're not showing at the show, but they've got it like under the table kind of a thing. And they're like, hey, while you're here, let me show you this cool stuff that's coming. So those are the things I usually end up seeing, not to brag, but that's usually happening. So I guess I am spending money at the show in a way because I'm buying pens, but it's, for the business instead of loosely justified for the business for myself. Anyway, so, but yeah, I'm not going with any specific purpose, but it's just always great to spend time with people and then do the Pencast. So yeah, it should be fun. So good luck, Millie. Hope you get the full experience because it's going to be wild. All right, Drew, I got a question for you.
Yes.
From Al.
I capitalized it this time for you.
They're capitalized.
Because last time you were like, is that AI?
Oh, gotcha. So it's Al.
Yeah.
Or those initials, AL.
I don't know. What's the right way to write Al?
I don't know.
Because last time it looked like AI because the capital.
It did look like AI.
But it was just yeah.
Maybe the AI is just getting more sophisticated and it's just making me think it's human now.
There's no way to win, Al. Sorry.
Anyway, Al asks, is there a pen in your collections? So are there pens in our collections that you always particularly enjoy picking out and inking up because it always accompanies you when you're doing something or going somewhere you enjoy? If so, what pen and why that pen? So like if you're doing a particular activity, do we pick pens for that activity, I guess?
Yeah.
It's kind of the nature
Something
of the question.
like that. Okay. Yes. The things that I first think of are my holiday pens. So I don't use my Retro 51 Sleepy Hollow Tornado outside of the month of October. And in recent years, October has been pretty fun / stressful for me because I make my son's Halloween costumes. And it's just a mad dash. It's challenging, but exciting, very craft heavy. And so I don't know. I've always liked Halloween. I've always liked costumes and dressing up and stuff like that. So October is a fun season for me, or a fun month for me. It's our anniversary month. It pretty fully represents the end of summer. That's when it starts to get cool.
Oh yeah.
And so I love the month of October. So that pen makes me happy. I do connect my Sleepy Hollow pen with the month of October, and there's just a lot of stuff in the month of October that brings me joy. So that's pen number one. And then I also kind of I have a pen block, not unlike some of these that we're going to talk about later, on my desk with all of my Retro 51s in it. All of the ones I pull from and use. But then after Thanksgiving, I take all of them out and put in all of my holiday Retro 51s just to add a little bit of desk decor.
Okay.
So all of our sweater pens and stuff like that. And when I see that there, it just makes me happy. That's not exactly what I'm talking about though when we're talking about using pens, because the pen that I've got two. Okay. So I have another fall pen. Again, I hate the summer, so I'm happy when it ends. I despise it.
That's every time. Keep wearing pants through summer.
My legs don't get hot, Brian. It's my back. It's my back and my neck. It all
contributes.
I'm never whining about my legs. If I'm ever suffering in the heat, my legs are not sending any signals to my brain.
Yeah, but if you wore shorts, then more of your body heat would go down to your legs.
I've worn shorts in the heat before. It doesn't help. Not to the amount where I would need to say, you know what, I'm going to spread out my money with pants and shorts, and I'm going to keep track of them and make sure these go away during the summer, make these come out. I don't know. It's just not, it doesn't make that big a difference to me. It just doesn't.
I love your financial justification.
It makes more sense to buy pants.
Well, you just buy fewer pants and then you have more shorts.
But pants are fine. Pants get the job done. Anyway.
Oh my gosh. How much would I sweat if I wore pants all summer? I think I might die.
All the heat I feel is just on my back and my neck and my shoulders. It's just, that's just.
I feel it everywhere.
I feel like every second I go out, I feel like like video game character where his energy is just like bling, bling, like you're underwater and your breath is all the way out, so
That's
it just
right.
starts taking off your health.
Oh yeah.
That's what I feel like when I'm out in the sun. I'm just dying slowly.
Fair enough.
So I hate it. So when the fall hits and the leaves start changing, it's like, yes, die.
It is very pleasant.
Just come to an end.
All the bugs start to go away.
Oh yeah.
It's glorious.
Oh, the bugs. Like we got those little tiny ants now because they're just trying to run from the outside. So they're coming in the house like, "Argh!"
Well, fruit flies. We got fruit flies all over.
We don't have any fruit flies. We got the big flies
We
because
do.
we open the door so
the
often to let
dogs.
the dogs out, and then
Yeah.
you get a fly coming in, and
It's the worst.
got off the vacuum the other day for that.
There's a device. What is it
Talking about the
called?
bug assault.
Yeah.
I want to buy one of those.
Of course you do. It looks awesome.
I have looked at that thing so many times.
The only thing is, like, wouldn't you just end up having like salt all over your
Yeah.
floor and house and
Yeah.
stuff? But
They
it
say-
does
say
look
it-
really fun.
They say it doesn't shoot that much salt.
Yeah, true. But you're still shooting salt everywhere.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It does seem really fun though.
Yeah. You know, they
They
have
make
like,
like a big version of it too.
they have like a 2-pack that you get discounted. Maybe we need to go halvesies.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll talk about that.
I wonder if we need him around the office. if
Well,
that could be
definitely.
justified
Oh,
as
for
a-
sure. Because they carry
Yeah.
diseases, Brian.
Oh yeah. Well, then it's a.
Like, do you
health
really want that
issue.
insurance claim? No. Get a bug assault.
I feel like we have more liability having a gun that shoots salt than the flies that would be around here. Anyway,
This is not sponsored by Bug Assault.
no, it is not.
Anyway, I hate the summer. I like the fall.
Oh, but it could be if you want to send us free ones. I'm just kidding.
The Sailor Monyo Nuts Pro Gear Slim is one of my favorites, and that to me, and I don't ink it up in the summer. I only ink it up in the fall, and I will keep it inked up through the winter, but it's definitely not a summer pen for me. Definitely not. It's more of a, a nutty roasty experience for me, and that to me is the colder months. And so the fact is, I reserve certain pens for times of the years
Sounds
that
like it's
I
more
like.
seasonal than it is like activity or location.
It
based, per
is.
se.
It is. It definitely is, because then
Okay.
I wait a little bit longer and then I ink up my Sailor Pro Gear Slim Christmas pudding. But I wait until after
Wow.
Black Friday for that. And that is when, like, oh, that's my season. When the decorations start going up. That's when the Christmas pudding comes out.
That's when the sweaters come out.
Yes,
You know, Drew's got some sweaters.
I do. So do you.
I do have a few.
And so, yeah, the Sailor Pro Gear Slim Christmas pudding makes me so happy because of when I choose to use it and when I choose to put it away. It's a struggle because it's one of my favorites, but in order for it to maintain its
Keeps it-
superpowers,
Keeps it special.
it
yeah.
needs to go away.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but as far as tasks go, not really. I don't have like a vacation pen that I take if I'm going someplace, really. I mix them up pretty well. But no, for me, it's mostly just time frame and seasonal. But
Yeah,
they
makes
do
sense.
every year that goes by and I use them, I feel like they gain more kind of seasonal influence to me. And every time I pick them up, I'm just like, yes, you've been gaining strength for the entire miserable summer, and now you're releasing your aura and bringing peace to the world.
Maybe you need a summer pen that you like.
No, summer's just going to be
dedicate-
miserable and sad and
What do you do in the
upsetting.
summer then? Do you just like whatever other
Yeah,
pens?
just whatever. Yeah, no need to
There's
celebrate.
so many good summer themed pens.
Blah.
Wow.
There's no
So
making
funny.
it better. It's
So funny.
It's the worst.
Okay, fair enough. So me, I am not as much into the seasonal thing.
Yeah, you're more activity.
I barely know what is happening at any time. I'm like, which month is it again? No, mine's less seasonal. Mine is a little more utility based, I guess. So it
Well, we
depends on
know
kinda what I'm doing.
we know what pen you use whenever you need to assemble a carport.
Yep, I do keep that pen on me pretty much at all times. My little traveler's pen, yellow brass dealy. I pretty much keep that on me all the time. That's like basically like my backup pen. So sometimes I'll be somewhere and be like, oh shoot, I didn't bring a pen. I'm like, wait a minute, I've got one in my pocket. So that's just like my kind of random whatever needs to be done pen. And then honestly, like more of my go-to just kind of everyday use pen is my Lamy 2000. So I keep that in my traveler's journal and use that just for like everyday note taking. Use it for like, therapy appointments and, church and stuff like that. So kind of whatever activity that I'm doing, more so on the personal front that I'm needing a notebook with a pen, I just kind of keep the Lamy 2000 in there. And I just like clip it into the notebook. I don't really have a special way to hold it or anything. That pen's durable enough. I don't really worry about it. And then my bougie pen that I will keep for like fancier, longer writing is my Pilot Custom Urushi. That's just the big honker, and it just looks amazing, and I love writing with it. So when I need to more than just like write a quick word or two, if I'm sitting down and writing like a letter or something like that, or signing a greeting card or something, or journaling, that's the pen that I will bust out. So, for me, it's a little more utility based, which I guess can kind of coincide with some of the activities. But in terms of ones that I think are just like enjoyable to use, I like ones that are like kind of fun and interesting. I'm a tinkerer, so I really like things like vacuum fillers. I love demonstrators because I love to see all the stuff. And so Pilot Custom 823, TWSBI VAC 700R, those are both really fun to just fill and use, and you get to watch the stuff swirl around. Those are really good. So I'll often use those in some kind of rotation. And then, I'll have like rare or special pens that are maybe more interesting, particularly if we have somebody visiting us that's like, say, from Lamy or from, Pilot or something like that. I will pull out some old vintage stuff and just be like, yeah, the Lamy lady, check this thing out, just cool, interesting things that are not that common. So I do like to do that just kind of for the wow factor, and to
every now and then you've shown off something that they haven't even seen in person yet.
It's happening more and more now as we've gotten along in our years here. I've got some deep cut pens that I've acquired over the years that some of our suppliers are like, wow, I've never seen one of those in person. I'm like, now you have. And then any particularly like special, unique pens that are really just fun to show off to friends and family. Some of the Benus and stuff are just like so like eye popping. Even if you're not into pens, it's just like, wow, that is very like captivating as an object. Anything Mach-E, particularly with Rodden, is just like, to even the casual person that doesn't know pens, they look at it and they're like, wow, this is a piece of art. So that's really cool whenever I'm like going to be interacting with somebody who doesn't really know that much about pens, because it kind of always comes up in the conversation like, oh, people still use those, blah, blah, blah. And they think like, yeah, I used to have this really nice pen that was like $20. And I'm like, well, let me show you a, $3,000 pen. They're like, what? It's just cool to be able to show that kind of thing. And then things was like specialty nibs, like the Mag 600 with that flex, just, showing that. So a lot of times when I'm intentionally going to other places, like traveling, it's for like a business thing, like a networking thing or conference thing, whatever, where it's going to come up because I'm talking about what I do. But I might be interacting with people who know something about pens, but usually they don't. So I try to bring something that they like will get an impression of what's going on. Like TWSBI Eco or a 580 is really good for that, because it just like shows kind of all the parts of a pen, and they get to see the ink sloshing around. They get a really good kind of visual, and it's a nice presentation of a pen.
That was my first thought when I saw this question. I was like, well, Brian's got his work conference pen, because you always bring a TWSBI.
Definitely. I usually, I will kind of alternate sometimes between an Eco and a 580. Usually I'll bring both.
Yep.
The 580 LR Prussian Blue is just great. Love that color. So that's a really good one. And then the Ecos, there have been some really good Ecos, like this, the indigo with the bronze trim. So the bougier Ecos, I've been bringing those a little bit more often, but you can't go wrong with just a classic, clear Eco as well. And those are good too, because if I'm going somewhere and, trying to, leave an impression on somebody, or they're like really captivated by a pen, I'll just be like, here, take it. The Ecos are affordable enough to be able to do that. And Pilot Varsities are really good for that too, just to give, especially to give to kids, or shark pens. Sometimes those will be good to have along. I don't use those for my own enjoyment, but you can really make a kid smile if you give them a shark pen. So that's always fun. So that's pretty much it for me.
I will say that there is one time, as far as like an experience that kind of like brings me joy. It's not a pen, it's a journal. I don't journal a lot. Most of my fountain pen use is very practical. Like, I need to write this down to remember it. I need to write this down to give to somebody. I need to write this down because I need to take this paper and go into the warehouse and get something. Like, there's a lot of very utilitarian writing. I do very little like quiet, peaceful writing, which I should do more of. But one thing that I do is add things to my recipe journal at home.
Oh, okay.
And when I get that journal, that is like my one time I'm like, not kind of partaking in fountain pens in any sort of work-related activity. It's like, it's not even on my mind, not even a little bit. And it's rare. It's rare these days.
That is an interesting challenge that you and I both have.
Yeah.
Is that it's our job to write with these pens, so it's hard to just like turn that off and just enjoy it. But I know what you're talking about, because I will sometimes be able to get in that mode too. Usually it's like if I'm like on vacation or something like that, I haven't really had a need to write something down, but then I pull a pen out and use it, and I'm like, oh wow, like, because I'm just not in work mode, and then I use it and I'm like, wow, this is just actually really enjoyable to write with.
It's hard not to be in work mode. Even like if I just see a fountain pen, I think of work. I do. Like, so it's really hard not to. But for whatever reason, my recipe book disengages me from all that.
Interesting.
And I really slow down. I really take my time, because I know I'm going to go back and reference this again and again and again.
Okay.
So I, have a very legible header. I have the ingredients, and then I have the step-by-steps. And it's just like everything has the same format, so it's just it is very relaxing.
Like there's like a ritual to it almost.
Yeah, exactly. So that does put me in a different frame of mind, but I use various pens for that, since it's just whatever I have inked up.
Yeah. Do you use is it all in one journal? Like do you have a specific journal? What do you use for that?
It is a Nebula.
Okay.
What's the blue thing with the light blue strap? I think it's a Nebula
thing with
or is it? Or maybe is it
Endless?
It might be an Endless. Yeah, Endless.
The Endless. Yeah.
Recorder, I think.
Is it our exclusive one that we had?
No. It's older than that.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
I'm just curious.
Yeah. No. Yeah. It's this Deep Ocean deal.
Okay. Endless Recorder.
Endless
A5.
Recorder. Yep.
Deep Ocean. Cool.
Yep.
Wait. Dot grid?
No, it's not. Is it?
Hmm.
What's that dot? Yeah. That's it. Endless Recorder. Yep.
Okay.
That's the thing.
Cool.
Because it's got a table of contents.
Yeah.
So I write down,
it's got a nice format to it.
I try to have it, separated, you got muffins here, dinner stuff here. Actually, you know what? There is no dinner stuff. It's all desserts. It's all.
Those are all your recipes?
Yes.
Nice.
It is all desserts.
You got your priorities straight.
I don't know. There's some breakfast things.
Okay.
But still very desserty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
There's nothing with like meat in it. It's all just like carbs.
I feel like meat's like basic.
All
stuff,
sweet carbs. Yeah.
Yeah. It's the best.
But yeah.
It's the best.
Anyway.
Cool.
Okay, cool. Our next question comes to us from Slane Design, and Slane reportedly has a noob question for us.
Okay.
And this is a common question that we've answered before.
Absolutely.
But I don't want to pretend that we have only people that have been listening to this since day one. I want to make sure that we do answer questions from people who have just joined us. So if you think that like, oh, well, they're not going to answer that because we've already answered it. Like, no. Let us know. We want to make sure that, even if it's something we've said before, we want to take care of everybody out there. So this is a common question.
If you're hardcore like W. Nelson, you would have discovered us recently and still watched every episode.
We do not expect that. My goodness. Slane wants to know this. I'm going to be flying across country in August, and I want to take my fountain pens with me for travel journaling. I heard somewhere that fountain pens explode under pressure on the plane.
Whoa.
What can I do to protect them? Thanks for an outstanding Pencast. Well, we don't know if it's outstanding yet. So far, so good, though. But time will tell, Slane.
Yeah.
But yeah, common question, Brian.
Explode. I don't think I've ever heard anybody say that they explode. Like literally explode?
I'm sure that's not what
like a pipe bomb in your pocket?
I don't think so. I think that maybe they're
like
just
leak
talking about
ink?
like very, very significant spritsplosion.
Okay. Well, I can at least ease your concerns that I've never heard of a pen exploding.
No combustion.
That I don't even think that's possible. I don't even see how that would be possible.
Not if you're filling it with ink anyway.
Yes. Maybe if you're filling it with some sort of combustible material. But
like,
no, that would not be kosher on a plane
like
anyway.
Napalm or thermite.
Thermite, yeah. Oh yeah, the new thermite ink. So I think the most extreme that you would see would be some ink kind of dribbling out of, basically the nib feed area. Because most of the rest of the pen is pretty well sealed up. Unless you have like your converters loose or your cartridge loose or something like that. But, basically the concern around all this, it's kind of it's not really as much of a modern issue. It was more of an issue with vintage pens, especially ones that had sacks for bladders, like that would hold the ink, because they're like some sort of rubber latex or some squishy material of those sacks, which, would be very susceptible to pressure changes, right? and you had air inside the pen around the outside of the sac. And as the pressure changed, it could influence that sac and ink could kind of spurt out. So, I think there's like a famous picture of Steve Martin or something. He's got like a Mont Blanc in his pocket and he's coming off the plane and it's got like a big ink. I think he did that for comedic effect, but that was the sentiment, is that like if you're flying with your pen, it's just going to dump all its ink out into your whatever situation. I've never had anything that dramatic. I've tried to get things that dramatic
a number of times.
I've tried to do all the worst things you can do. And the worst that's ever happened is like I get some ink inside the cap and it's maybe all over the grip section. But I've never had it leak outside the pen. It's always been contained. But I'll at least explain some of the basics of why this even happens. We do have a full video on it. I think we've done a couple of videos on it over the last 15 years. But I'll explain the basics here. So planes, basically the reason why you get these, potential leak issues is because as you go up in elevation, the air pressure drops. So what happens basically is you have any air inside that pen, particularly in the ink chamber. If you go higher and the pressure around you drops, but the pressure is higher inside the pen, then it's going to want to equalize, and therefore it's going to want to push ink out so the air that's trapped in your ink chamber can escape and depressurize based on its surrounding environment. So that's the sort of the physics of what's happening there. But planes, basically, some planes are probably different, but usually they're pressurized to about a 6,000 foot elevation. So it's not like you keep going up in a plane and it's just going to get thinner and thinner air. That would happen if you're outside the plane, but if you ever notice you're flying 30,000 feet, it doesn't feel like you're about to die of oxygen, starvation. So, they pressurize it to about 6,000 square feet. So it's really that initial ascent that is going to be the most dramatic change in pressure, particularly the surrounding pressure dropping. And it's worse, obviously, if you're at sea level, if you're taking off from like Denver, which is almost at 6,000 square feet or 6,000 foot elevation to begin with, they call it the Mile High City because it's that high up.
I did not know that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So if you're taking off from somewhere like there, you'll probably see even less of a change. But if you're coming from, more ground level, sea level, then you might see more dramatic difference. But it's that initial ascent that's the issue because the air pressure around you is dropping. If you're descending, it's actually the opposite effect. So you're gaining pressure as you go down, especially from 6,000 feet down to the ground, which is going to then want to force the pressure to equalize back up into the pen. So you usually don't have any leaks that happen on the descent. It's usually the ascent. So once you're already up in the air and you're stable, 6,000 feet or above, it's pretty stable and not much is going to happen at that point. So it's really that initial kind of takeoff that is of the utmost concern. So it's all about air. It's all about air pressure and balancing out the air pressure. So the best ways around it, first off, if you just don't have your pens inked, then you won't have any leaks. But there's two things you can do. If you fill up your pens all the way so that there's no extra air in the ink chamber, there's nothing to have to equalize. So you're not likely to have a leak because there's no air inside of there that's trying to escape. So just keep all your, it might seem contradictory because you're like, I'm worried about leaks, so let me fill all my pens to the max. But it's not the ink inside the pen that is causing the problem. It's actually the air. So the more ink you put in there, the less air is inside, the less there is to equalize, and the less it'll push out into the pen.
Air is the enemy.
Air is the enemy. So there's that. Or what you can do, this is a little less of a surefire thing, but if you just keep whatever pens you have carried on you, just keep them nib up. So if you think about it, if you keep it nib up and you have any air inside your ink chamber, the ink inside the ink chamber is going to drop down, and then the air is going to be at the top where the feed and the, all that would be. So as the air needs to equalize and escape out of there, if there's not ink between where it's trying to go and where that air is, then it's not going to spurt as much ink. You might get a little bit if there's ink like in the feed, you might get a little bit, it'll kind of burp out, but usually it can kind of regulate enough just through the normal filler hole. And there's usually not a ton of ink that hangs out in there because usually air needs to go through it to, replace the ink, as it's being written with. So usually if you can keep your pens nib pointed up, it's at least on the initial ascent for that like 10 or 15 minutes, whatever, you'll be pretty good to go.
That's how it's always been with me. I've always kept them nib up.
Just keep them nib up.
Never had a problem.
It's fine if you carry like a couple of pens on you, just have a little 3-pen case or something like that. It's easy enough to kind of just like keep it in your shirt pocket or have it in a backpack or even just stick it in like the, back of the seat.
That's what I do.
Yeah. And then you'll probably never have much of an issue. When I travel, frankly, I've traveled so much, especially flying. I don't even do anything special for my pens anymore. I'll bring like 20 pens with me somewhere and
all linked up.
Oh yeah, whatever status that they're in, I'm like I used to be more concerned about it earlier on because I heard all the stuff of like people being so concerned. And then it got to the point where I was like, well, if it can really be that bad, let me try to make it that bad. And then I'll just be a case study and I can talk about it more. And I just never got anything dramatic enough to make for really compelling content. So it's kind of like, oh, whatever, worst case is like, I'll get there and I'll be like, oh yeah, there's some ink on the grip. And I'll just like take a tissue in the hotel room and just wipe it off. And it's perfectly fine. I'm good to go. So it's never been enough to really bother me, honestly. But I find that if you have any like cartridge converter pen, even if it's not that full, there's just not that much air in there to really cause you any problem. It's really only like piston, vacuum, and like eyedropper filled pens. If you're like eyedropper filling a, Noodler's Ahab and you've got like a milliliter of ink and like 3 milliliters of air, okay, you might have 3 milliliters of air, whatever the equivalent of that space, then you might get some kind of reaction and you carry it nib down. Who knows? But I've tried even with that and it's never been as exciting as I thought it would be. So
yeah, the only time I've ever had anything happen was with 2 piston pens. One, I got a little bit of schmutz in my Lamy 2000. Okay. And then I had a more considerable amount of leakage in a vintage like Pelican 100 of some kind. Okay. Like something from the 50s, like pretty old. Okay. So who knows what was going on with that? The feed looked really funky too. So I don't know. Okay. Interesting. But I didn't try to keep them nib up.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah.
But now I do, and it's fine.
Yeah, there you go. So you can take a couple of these little precautions, but honestly, I would not lose a whole lot of sleep over it. I think you'll be just fine. Worst case, what you can do is just keep your pens inside like a plastic bag. And then if you do have any kind of a leak, even if it's really dramatic, it won't get all over your stuff. And then you just rinse it off when you get to your destination, and you'll be fine. So there you go. That's the long and short of it.
There you go.
All right. Dan Tree Photo's got a question for Drew. Have you ever purposefully mixed your inks for a different color or shade?
Yeah, I have.
You seem like the kind of guy that might mess with that because you're a, I don't know, experimenter, sort of, tinkerer.
Yeah, I do seem that way, but I'm not.
Yeah?
I've done it enough to know that the amount of effort required is not really, personally anyway, worth the payoff. There are so many inks out there.
Yeah.
So many shades. So many that I haven't tried yet. And there have been so many instances where I have been surprised at how much I liked something I didn't expect to like that I don't feel like pursuing what I think is the perfect color is where my fountain pen happiness lies. I think my fountain pen happiness lies perhaps amidst the inks that are already there. And in my opinion, like, why try to create something that I think I need before seeing what else is out there that I might not need to replicate perfectly every time I want to? Because if you, let's say you stumble across your perfect little cocktail of inks and you love it, then you got to make more and more, and then it has to be exactly the same. And you have to really write down, how many drops, what your ratio is, and it might already be out there. There are so many freaking inks out there that you haven't tried. Like, who's to say that perfect ink isn't already out there? Even if it's not the color that you think, the more I try inks, the more I realize that there are a lot of shades out there I didn't know that I loved. Like when I first stumbled upon light purples, like I would have never, ever have considered like lavender ink to be my thing. But I was like, you know what? This one sells well. Why don't I give it a try? Holy crap, this is beautiful.
Yeah.
And now I'm all about it. Give me a smoky, dusty, dirty purple, and I'm there for it.
What's it got to be dirty?
Well, kind of, it's because it's not like a clean purple. Sometimes it's got a little bit of gray schmutziness into it. And I'm down. It gives it some depth. So I don't know. Maybe I need to try a Rui Donker or whatever. Like maybe I need Rusty Anchor in my life because I've been surprised enough to know I should never count anything out. It's kind of like those actors that you say, oh, it's no way Heath Ledger could be Joker, but he can.
That's right.
So I've been surprised so many times. I'm like, let me keep on trying new inks rather than try to get this perfect ink on my own. Because honestly, I don't even know what that perfect ink is. I don't have like we've been asked many times, like, if you could make any ink, what would it be? And it gets tougher and tougher because there are so many out there that
there's a lot of choices
are really close to the bullseye at this point. And who am I to say I could do it better? Like I'm an ink nerd, sure. I mean, more of a pen nerd than an ink nerd, but still I've, used enough ink to be passionate about certain colors and shades. But I don't for one second think that I could make something better than what already exists. Now I have enjoyed using things like Wearing Gold's glitter potions from time to time.
Okay.
I'm a fan of those. Especially when pairing it with some of the lighter sailor inks, like the dual shading inks. I think a little because that's one thing that hasn't yet been done is one of those crazy dual shading lighter colors that have like that nice green halo effect with shimmer. So I do like that. That's fun. But again, I don't use a lot of shimmer inks either. I do it just for fun, but I don't ink up my pen with it.
Okay.
One thing I might consider doing would be to pursue either a true brick red or a red orange that I think I'm having a hard time finding exactly what's in my head. But still, I haven't tried all the ones. I still have some stuff on my list I want to try, so I'm gonna knock those out first.
I feel like there's a bunch of red oranges though. Like what are you looking for that's not with like a cayenne or habanero or something like that?
Honestly, Diamine Sunset kind of pinpointed it a little bit, but I think I want a slightly more red version of that.
Okay.
So yeah, I don't know. It's not something that I feel is absent from my life. But if it might already exist,
you just haven't tried it yet.
Exactly. So there's more on my list.
Fair enough.
So if I did want to explore something, it'd probably be a brick red or a red orange that leans a little bit more toward red.
Okay.
That I haven't quite pinpointed yet, but
I mean, you could take a little bit of your beloved, not Red Dragon, that's mine. What's the Diamine red that you like? Matador. What if you put a little Matador in that sunset?
That's not crazy.
Maybe that would be everything you're looking for in life. You never know.
Maybe I should go do that and report back. Let me write a note. Maybe Dan Tree over here is gonna inspire me. What about you, Dan? Do you ink up? Are you an ink mixologist, Dan Tree?
Sounded so judgy. What about you, Dan?
What about you, Dan?
What right do you have to ask this question? What have you mixed?
Give me your best cocktail, Dan. What you got?
Yeah.
What you got? Show me your your notes.
What's your street cred here? Oh goodness.
What about you?
Yeah, I am not a color guy. Rachel's really good with colors. I am less good with colors.
Just today, Rachel asked us to compare two different colors, and
it was like two different dark teals.
Yeah, she's like, well, the darker teal. And Brian and I are looking,
and I'm looking. I'm like, these look exactly
these are identical
to me.
She's like, well, the darker one. And we're like,
you're gonna have to tell me.
Held them up to light and everything. We could not tell a difference. So I don't know.
I mean, men and women see color differently.
Yeah.
That is a thing, especially in particular ranges, like certain purples and blue greens, I think. So that is a thing. And honestly, there's more people that have variations of color blindness than you would realize.
Mm-hmm.
It's especially men. It's more common, but how would you know? How would you know that you don't see colors the right way? Because this is normal to you.
I can't tell you how many times I've put on a navy blue undershirt and thinking it was black.
Yeah, that's an easy mistake to make.
That's probably the most common one.
I'm wearing black shoes with a navy blue shirt today.
Nothing wrong with that.
I don't care much, but I looked at it and I was like, yeah, I clash a little bit.
Nah.
What are you gonna do? Me personally, so I have purposefully mixed ink before, mostly because we've been asked about it. And I was like, I've never tried this. I will say this is a much more commonly talked about thing and just much more discussed thing in general when we first got into the business like 15 years ago. Partly because there was not the explosion of different ink colors like there are these days. And I think also because there were more like discontinued colors that were from brands that people really liked that they were trying to replicate, or maybe they had some bottle of ink that they had gotten from their dad or grandma or something like that, and they were trying to replicate that. So they were like trying to replicate a very specific color and just trying to get that. Those are the instances where I feel like more people were talking about it, and it was exactly what you described, where it's like it becomes uber scientific. Because the issue you have when trying to mix inks is you don't want to use a ton of ink, because if it's not the right color, especially if you like add too much of certain things, it just everything ends up looking a muddy brown color. And then how much muddy brown ink do you really need? So it's like you just end up wasting a bunch of ink. So you want to mix it in small quantities, but then if you nail it and you get it right, and you want to make more of it, it can be kind of difficult to like scale it up appropriately. Because if you're like, okay, I need to put like 25 drops of this color and 5 drops of that color. Well, how does that scale up into, larger volumes and stuff like that? Are you going to be counting like 5,000 drops of this color and 250 of that color?
I've already lost interest.
Yeah, it ends up getting very scientific, which for some people, that's like, it taps into like their nerd frequency and they really love doing it, and more power to you. But I think what ends up happening is most people who take an interest in ink mixing to really do it like precisely and reliably ends up being kind of like a scientific method, which then is kind of like, okay, this is kind of just feeling like work. There's probably something that's close enough out there.
That's kind of where I land.
Yeah. And like, perfect example, like Richard Binder back in the day had, I forget what he called it, like Binder Burgundy, I think it was diamine, and he mixed, you're going to forgive me. It's, what's the color? The wine color. Syrah. That was modeled after his mixed color. So he had two different, he had a blue and a red that he mixed together into a burgundy. It was called Binder Burgundy. And then that's what, he shared that with Diamond. I don't think they just ripped it off. I'm not sure actually, but that was essentially was the inspiration.
I did not know that.
Syrah. Yeah.
Huh. So,
it's like there were more things like that where people had like certain mixtures and whatnot. And I knew people that definitely like had a CMYK, arrangement where they had like the 4 different colors, just like you would have in like a 4-color printing press. And they would use different mixtures of the 4 colors to get different ink colors and stuff like that. And that's kind of interesting, just as like a goof around hobby kind of a thing. So I can see that but that's kind of like,
and there've been a couple products that have kind of leaned into that as well.
Yeah.
Platinum had their mix free set,
Yep.
and Peniter had their ink alchemy set.
Mm-hmm.
So there have been products that have encouraged folks to mix a lot.
But they never sell well.
Like they're so expensive.
Well, you end up buying a really large volume of ink, and then it's a very niche thing. The people that I know that have mixed inks the most have been artists who are trying to get like a specific, it's almost more for the properties than just the specific shade. But I know a lot of people, artists in particular, will mix the De Atramentis document inks. So they'll use kind of a palette of document inks and they'll kind of mix those to get different in between colors that aren't offered, specifically because those have like waterproof properties. So if you're trying to get some kind of special property, then you can be somewhat more limited, right? So, or like I've messed around with mixing some ink before where I didn't, I wanted some permanence to an ink, but I didn't want to use the hardcore color. Or if I wanted like a really dark green, I might take a green and add a little bit of like a Noodler's black type of a thing, or some like permanent black. And then, if that ink ever gets washed off or it gets wet or something like that, whatever the base color is, it's not waterproof, would wash away, but there would still be something legible with the waterproof ink component in there. So there can be some utility like that.
Yeah.
Or what I've done a little bit before too is if you have an ink color that's really saturated and doesn't have a lot of shading and you're trying to like tone it down, lighten it up a little bit, just adding water to dilute it. Just distilled water to dilute it. If you can go up to about 10% dilution. That can affect maybe some of the flow. That's another reason people add water to their ink, is to change the flow. But if you go more than 10%, but like 10 and 25%, that's where it starts to make a noticeable difference, a lightening of the color and lightening of the saturation.
Let me ask you another question. This was another question submitted to us. I didn't add it as a standalone question because I didn't think it was enough to talk about for a full response. But someone did ask, how would they add permanence to one of their favorite ink colors? And from what you're saying, I'm kind of thinking that, like, what if they added, let's say, Diatramentus Document Black to their favorite color, which would darken it.
Yeah.
And then added water. Would that potentially bring it back closer to its original color?
It won't change the hue. It won't change the color. It would change the level of saturation. The water would. So, it's not going to change.
So it's still going to be a darker ink. It's just going to be more a watery or darker
it's going to make it more of a gray.
So you'd really need some sort of like clear
permanent ink. That's not a thing. No, what it would mean is that if you wanted to have some ink that you really love and you wanted a permanent component to it, you would try to find a permanent ink that most closely matches that color, mix that into it so it's not changing the color that drastically.
Yeah.
And then you would at least have some degree of,
I guess at that point
permanence.
you could dial it one notch above or one notch below using a black or a white, perhaps.
Yeah, it depends, because when you're talking certain colors, like just adding black or white is not going to necessarily get you where you need to be.
No.
And this is where like ink mixing is way more complicated than you think. Yeah, especially because not every color is a straight color. Every fountain pen ink is a mixture of different dyes. Yeah. So what can end up happening is you can mix two different colors together, and say you're mixing a purple and a blue. Well, there could be a lot of one particular red component that's in both of those that then comes out stronger than you intended because there's now more of that particular dye after you mix the two together than some of the other colors that are in there. So that's where it can be really fun, because it can have some interesting consequences that happen, but it also makes it kind of maddening because you can't always predict what's going to happen just by mixing two different colors together. It's not like, oh, this is red, this is yellow, therefore it will make orange. Like it might do all kinds. It'll still end up in the orange, family, but you might end up with some very interesting kind of results. Another thing too is like anytime you're mixing ink, you always have to mix it and let it sit for a while. Make sure it's not going to have some kind of reaction, because there are some inks that have like base components that are not compatible that can like
explode on airplanes.
They won't explode, but I've seen some that have like foamed up, other ones that have like turned to gel, and you
Come
don't
on,
want,
Dan, what are you trying to do to us?
You don't want that happening in your pen. One of the most famous ones is Noodler's Bay State series.
Don't mix that.
They're an entirely different
Stay with the Bay
type
State
of ink. You can mix within the Bay States, but do not mix Bay States with anything else. So, there's stuff like that. And like the Diatramentus documents, I don't know how well those play with non-document inks. That's something you'd have to experiment with. So you can mix the document inks with each other, but if you go mixing them with random stuff from different brands, that's the kind of thing where you'd want to mix it up, let it sit for a while. Maybe try it with like a glass pen or a Kakamori nib or some dip pen, but wait a couple hours before you go inking it up into a pen. Because if it does have some kind of reaction, you want it happening before you put it in your pen.
Don't go chasing waterfalls.
Yeah. So hashtag is complicated, but it's a whole thing. The best resource I probably know for ink mixing, there might be some specialty like blogs and stuff out there, particularly in like the mixed media stuff and like urban sketching and all that. But Fountain Pen Network that was my resource back in the day for ink mixing stuff. And I imagine there's all the same threads that were there 15 years ago, but probably a lot more since then, where people can really like nerd out on ink mixing. So go check that out as a resource if you're interested in more.
Whew.
So how's that, Drew?
All right, Dan Tree Photo.
Now you get to ask me a question. You can take a
melt in our brains. Yeah. Our old friend Imperator Lucius asks the very interesting question. What is your relationship with other fountain pen vendors? How competitive is the market?
Well, I have the closest relationship with a fountain pen vendor being my wife.
You do?
We have a very, very close relationship.
How competitive is your market?
We get pretty competitive. Not really.
Only Mario Kart.
No, there's no competition. She wipes the floor with me with Mario Kart. It's not even a contest anymore. I can't even reliably beat my kids anymore.
Oh, no.
I'm the worst in the family at Mario Kart.
Oh, man.
On a pretty regular basis.
Oh, wow.
But I just accept that.
Yeah. Well, you also play games the least by far out of the four of you.
Well, especially like that type of game. Yeah. Like I play other games, but they're not at all transferable to a Mario Kart type of environment.
If only there was some sort of competition in snow runners.
I know, right?
You'd kill
I'll
them.
wipe the floor in snow runners. I can use that winch like mad. So anyway, other websites, other online fountain pen retailers. I'm sure is more what you're talking about. You're like, why are you talking about Mario Kart? This doesn't have anything to do with the question. I would say as a whole, the fountain pen retailer market is pretty amicable. Like there's really, I mean, it's filled with people, so people are going to people, but I don't know everybody personally, but it's a pretty tight industry. It's a lot of mom and pop operations. And there's definitely a professional respect that we all have for each other. I think even if you don't mix well chemistry wise with somebody and you have more like direct competition that happens, sure, that's to be expected in any type of like business type environment. But, I don't see all that much like animosity and pettiness and stuff like that. It's a small industry, so it feels a little more like kind of family oriented, and we all buy from the same suppliers. And so our suppliers end up talking to all of us too. So it's like, it's the kind of thing that if you're really being a pain, like it's going to get around and people aren't going to want to work with you as much. So everybody tends to stay pretty friendly. There's a lot of like relationships that we're aware of, other sites, but I've never met the people behind them, or maybe I see their content. And so I have like a parasocial type, relationship, but not direct contact. But then there's other ones that we know much more directly. Like we were friendly with like Tom Otto from Gold Spot. And, I've, hung out with several other ones, especially at like pen shows and other events. I've like traveled with, different manufacturers, like different brands. And sometimes like we'll travel with, another, retailer of ours. Like that happened with, when I did the Platinum 100th anniversary, they took like some of the, select retailers from the US to go to Japan and represent the US market. So, like the Andersons were there and,
Pen Chalet.
Those two guys were there. And then,
not Pleasure of Writing.
Not Binder. No, he's based in Carmel, California.
Bittner, yeah.
Bittner, yes.
Yeah,
I kept thinking, I was like, it's not Binder, Bittner.
Yeah. Now it's the Pleasure of Writing, but at the
exactly.
time it was Bittner.
And we see all them at shows and stuff like that too. So it's like, we're all pretty friendly, and we understand there's like a professional respect that we all have for each other. It's like, we're obviously like trying to run our own successful businesses. But I think most people, at least this is the approach that we take here for sure, is like the rising tide raises all boats kind of a thing. So it's like, hey, if we're all talking about fountain pens and just sharing the love and educating people about it, we all kind of win. Like it's the whole industry gets raised up. Like our biggest, concern is just falling into obscurity and just nobody caring about fountain pens anymore. So it's like, we end up not thinking like, oh, this is the pie. And if they get a customer, then that's a customer I lose.
It's such a small pie.
Yeah, it's a small pie. I'm like, let's just grow the pie.
Yeah.
Like, that's more the approach.
Let's
and
make
then
a
you
bigger
get customers,
pie.
I get customers, great, and a lot of people shop at all kinds of different places. It's like we don't have to have this like contentious kind of a thing. And that's really kind of how it is. Like it's such a niche market, that it's really more about just like awareness for the whole industry in general than it is about like one trying to beat out. I think you end up seeing more of the cutthroat competition when there's, a more commoditized market, right? So if there's a lot of competition, many different suppliers supplying, to people, and there's less of a personal relationship that you have up the supply chain, then things can get a lot more cutthroat because it becomes depersonalized and you're like, well, it's all about just getting sales. And then you can detach yourself from it, but it's all so intertwined and personal in this industry that there's a lot less of that. So let's see here. What else did I have in my notes? Like we'll see a competitor that'll come out with an exclusive thing, or they put out some really good piece of content and it's like, oh man, they really nailed that.
Yeah.
Like, dang.
Yeah.
Like that's happened before. And it's like,
absolutely.
Okay. Like we really, anyone's natural instinct would be like jealousy or envy or bitterness or whatever, when it's like a competitor that does something and you're like, I wish I'd done that. Or it's like, oh, we've had an idea to do that and they just beat us to it, but it's like, first off, they didn't know, and so it's just it's a free for all kind of a thing. It's fair market. But for us, it's always like, we always try to take the approach of, oh, okay, man, they really did a good job. They are doing good things for the industry as a whole. And if it's good content, it's good content, and that'll just help us all. So it's like, we'll take inspiration from that and be like, man, okay, we need to step it up, or we need to act on that thing that we've been sitting on for a while because, we just saw them put out some really good thing. So yeah, that's kind of how we take it. I think generally speaking, that's how it is too.
Yeah, that's healthy.
I know a lot of our suppliers, like, we put out more than your average amount of content here, and we have for a long time. We definitely have had suppliers of ours that are like, man, everybody loves it when you guys put out content on a certain thing, because it's like they will get inquiries about it and then we'll get purchase orders, so it's like, there really is like it's on the internet. So it's like the impact can be had. Y'all might see an email newsletter from us or a video from another retailer, somebody else on social media. It's all just kind of in the mix, right? So as long as everybody's doing good stuff and not lying and just, putting out good information, I think it helps everybody. So that's the approach we always take.
And if you want to buy something and, for whatever reason, don't buy it from us, definitely buy it from one of these other small businesses.
Yeah, for sure.
We are if just not Amazon, like go to one of these small businesses. That's great.
Yeah, there's definitely a difference between like a small family owned business and like a conglomerate that's publicly owned, right? There's certainly a different impact, that you're having on that company.
No matter which small business you're buying from, you're still benefiting a small business. You're still benefiting the industry that we all benefit from.
Yeah, definitely.
For sure. But, and I likewise, any retailer I've ever met at a pen show or anything has been nothing but kind. So it's always been enjoyable.
My experience too.
Yeah.
And honestly, we've even had some instances where, particularly on like the stuff that's really rare, some like the limited edition type things, some of the limited editions get into the thousands of dollars, and, not everybody is got those kinds of means, or the interest might be so niche based on the pen's theme or whatever. So there might be a time where like we might have a pen and somebody else has a collector who really wants that pen, but there are no more of them. And they'll call us up and be like, hey, do y'all have this? Do you want to work something out? Can we buy it off you? Whatever. They just really want to serve that customer. And so, we've had that situation a number of times where another retailer has kind of been in a bind, or we had a situation one time where we were about to do a launch. I think it was for a Lamy special edition or something like that. And we were super low on converters. We ended up getting shorted or something happened, and we were super low on converters. And, we had kind of asked around, for other retailers, and somebody else had a surplus of converters. So they sold them to us. And we were able to then have more of them available for our launch. So, it's pretty cool when that kind of stuff can happen. And I'm not going to say that kind of stuff happens every day, but I think at the end of the day, everybody in like the small, like retailing kind of thing, they all understand we're all just trying to do our best. And so there's pretty good support across the industry there.
And any small business owner, whether you're in fountain pens or any other industry, like once you have participated in it, even me as just a participant in the small business space, not being an owner or, founder, you're in it enough. You just have a natural respect towards anybody who's in the small business space.
Yeah.
Because you know that it requires a ton of time, dedication, sacrifice, and just willpower and strength of character. So that right there, it goes a long way, because no matter how anybody else, may conduct themselves or, whatever, they're still in it with you to some extent.
There's respect for anybody that has to run their own business.
Yeah.
Because you are working way more than a 40-hour work week. I don't care who you are. And I always have that respect no matter what industry somebody's in.
Exactly.
It's like, I know it's work. It's work. Cool. All right. Well, that's it for the Q&A for this week. If you have questions for future Pencast, you can always leave comments, down on YouTube where we post the video. You can, if you're an audio listener, you can email us at pencast@gouletpens.com. A lot of times we'll have a post on YouTube community or Instagram or something. So we'll solicit questions there every now and then. But yeah, lots of different ways. So keep those questions coming. All right, next up, we're going to do a spotlight. It's going to be about Benu pen stands, but it's going to be just more about pen stands in general. So let's go ahead and take a look at some of those. All right, well, we're talking about pen stands. I'm going to start off talking about the Benu, right? So we have two different pen stands, which luminous and then crystalline. So they both look very crystal-like. They've got kind of a cavey crystal kind of a vibe, a quartzy kind of a vibe. So that's kind of neat. It's got a little like bluish greenish tinge to it because this glows in the dark. So you charge it up in the sunlight, and then it'll glow in the dark.
Oh, so it's just the bottom that glows in the dark?
Well, yeah, the top is clear.
Oh,
but yeah,
I
so
never
if you
knew
look at
that.
it from the side, then I don't know how easily you can see it from
Yeah, I
that
can
angle,
kinda see
but
it.
it's clear. It's just the bottom that's that glow in the dark. But it kind of like,
Yeah, I've seen glasses that do that.
glows the whole thing. Yeah. So
That's
this is
cool.
kind of neat. These are $35, I want to say. And then we have the other one, which is the same design. It's just not the glow in the dark. So this is the crystalline. So this has got a black base instead. So honestly, part of what kicked off the whole conversation for us around these is, we were thinking like, if they can do different bases for it, we sell a lot of different Benus. Could we do one that like matches a Euphoria that we have or something like that? These will fit. I don't have a Benu on me to show, but these will fit in here. Originally, they were for the Briolette, which is like the smaller number 5 nib pen. It looks very like crystal-like, but this will fit almost any Benu. And almost any fountain pen in general, honestly, so it's like, let me Dialogue CC. There you go. There, it's in there. How about a Pilot Metropolitan? Hey, look at that.
It's actually a nice
it does kind of
color
nice.
choice.
That's why I picked that one. Yeah, so kind of cool. Or how about this combo here? Yeah. Little Shone pen.
That looks sharp.
That looks tight, right? So anyway, it'll fit most pens. So these are kind of neat. If you just want to like have a pen at your desk, basically, that's what it's meant for. It's just kind of like a cool little decorative thing. So we have these available. We don't stock a ton of them. Honestly, they don't sell all that much. Part of it was like, I don't know if people are even aware that these exist, or is there just not demand for them?
I don't know if we've ever talked about them.
Yeah, that's why we kind of wanted to spotlight is like, this is a unique design to Benu. And it is pretty cool. And it does a really good job for what it is. And it doesn't have to be just used with Benu pens. You can put whatever you want in here. Here's a TWSBI Eco. Here's what is this? A Sailor. No, this is a Pilot Custom A23. Boom. So, and it fits in there fairly snugly. So like it can work really well. Actually, that looks better in that one.
There we go.
That works well enough. Oh, let's see about the, here we go.
Oh, yeah.
My little Sailor here. That looks okay, but here we go. How about this one? Visconti.
Now we're talking.
So yeah, lots of options. I could just put pens in these all day, but you get the idea. So these are available. They're just fun little extra accessory things to have. But I wanted to show some other things that are out there because honestly, part of the intent behind this is to just gauge feedback from you all about, do you all give a crap about pen stands? Because it's one of those things that perplexes me a little bit. Like I use pen stands a ton on my desk, but I'm not the typical use case for pen.
Yeah, and for you audio
usage.
listeners, we're talking about stands that keep pens, 90 degrees upright.
Yeah.
Like just straight up. And there are a lot of pen cases, but usually those, lay flat and your pens are kind of resting inside of a booklet sort of design.
This is not available independently. This comes with the Diplomat Nexus, which I actually don't have the Nexus on me. But anyway, the Nexus, because of the way it fills, it's more of like an eyedropper type fill. It's made to hold the body of the pen so that you can fill it kind of from here. But still, you can just use it as a regular pen stand and it kind of holds a bottle of ink, right? So it's another thing that exists. So I thought I would just show it. Because as I was pulling stuff out of my office, I was like, I kind of have a bunch of different types of pen stands. Let's see here. This is the Diplomat Executive set or whatever it's called. I can't remember, but it's not as much of a stand. It's more of a tray, I guess you'd call it. So it's made to hold ink. It's got a little thing underneath there for your accessories or whatever. And then it can hold a couple of pens in here. And then you can like close the lid if you want, It's like, okay, here you go.
I don't know.
Bada boom.
Oh, you can. Okay.
Yeah, it closes.
I thought that.
Did you doubt, Drew?
Well, the Homo sapiens is a big pen.
Did you think I would stick it in there without knowing what was going to happen?
100%.
I would never do that. Here, let's stick a Scribo and a Visconti in there. They're both pretty chunky.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah, there's plenty of room in there. I'm trying to think if I have anything bigger on me, but I don't.
What if the clips are upright?
Let's try it. I don't know why you'd do that because that's insane.
Oh, we're good.
It still does it.
All right.
Yep. You got full clearance there.
We're going to sell so much of these now.
Right. Yeah, exactly. These are a little more expensive. This is like $120, I think, or something like that. So little more niche, but it's a thing that exists, right? This looks a little more like a posh, right? And then this is not something we've ever sold. This is actually from Galen Leather. I don't even know if they have this available anymore. We got this prior to COVID, and we were like, oh, maybe we'll consider carrying this. And then just COVID wrecked everything in the world, and really changed a lot for Galen too. So it was like, well, I have this, but it's just another example of like a thing that can exist for pens, you know, so you can have a bunch of pens. Just this to me is like, they're a little tight together. So I don't use this one personally all that much, but it is more compact and it's kind of a neat overall design.
Why do you like pen stands so much, Brian? Because you utilize pen stands more than anyone I've ever seen.
I do. I think it's because I'm a very, very visual person.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, and I'm cycling through and accessing a lot of different types of pens in my everyday work life. So again, more unique situation than most. So for me, rather than having pens just scattered all over my desk, it's better to have them just kind of contained in one place. And then if I need a particular type of pen, I can just very quickly see it and grab it. So I have my pen cabinet for my more like long-term storage. But for everything that I'm kind of like currently using and accessing, that's what my pen stands end up being. And then I have this little guy. This is just a little cube. This comes from Dudek Modern Goods, Mike Dudek from Gentleman Stationers. I bought this probably 8 years ago or something. But I was like, hey, I appreciate handmade goods, artisanal. This one has got 2 different size holes. So most of these tend to standardize around a 5/8 inch hole because that accommodates most pens. This one has some 1/2 inch holes as well, which is really more for like thinner pens, like pens and pencils and stuff. But most fountain pens do a little bit better in a 5/8 inch hole, which is, what I found. But very simple, very kind of cool from a single block of wood. You know, I didn't want to like rip off the design of this, but it was partly what inspired me when I make pen stands for myself or for suppliers of ours that'll come and visit. I took inspiration. Mine are chunkier, but I've got a guy locally who does a lot of like wood slab furniture. So I end up being able to get cutoffs when he cuts the natural edges off of his slabs, which are perfect for these little pen stands with a natural edge. So this is walnut, and I made this. So I just took like the natural character. It's got this like, you know, big knot that was in there. It's kind of weird. It looks like like anteater or something, but it's very unique. But it's kind of cool. It's just a single block of wood, very easy to make, and it looks really interesting and cool. So I'll make stuff like this for, you know, special gifts for family or suppliers or whatnot.
Those your holes being that they're kind of smoothed out a little bit.
Yeah, I really round them off.
That reminds me of a bowling ball.
It does. That's exactly kind of the vibe I was going for. Like the Dudek one, and again, this is older, so I don't know if he's changed his design at all. He's got like a little bit of a chamfer on there, but I was like, nah, I want to go hard. I want to really be able to just like come at this thing at a weird angle. It just makes it easier to kind of lift in and out. And then this is another one that I've got that was just a different piece of wood. This is a spalted maple. So the spalting is actually mold. Like it's when the wood starts to kind of rot, you get these like black mold lines in there. And it's been like stabilized and stuff like that. But so it's not like it's actively like molding my office or anything.
Spalted mean molded?
Spalted means mold. Yeah.
Wow.
It's a fancy word for mold. So it creates these really cool lines in here, which give it a lot of character. So, you know, this is just a different style of the same kind of thing. It's just a natural edge of maple instead of walnut. So I don't know. It's the kind of thing that like, I don't plan to make these as a business because I do not have the time. But it is really cool and I like making them. So I make them just as gifts, as like a hobby. But it's this kind of thing that like, I find them incredibly useful, but I don't see a lot of them. Mike Dudek is the one that I've seen that has most in this kind of style. So if you want to get some, I encourage you to support him. He's active in the pen industry, you know, solid dude. I have no affiliation other than I've bought a couple of his products and have had a good experience. But still, wanted to show you all just a variety of the different types of pen stands that are available and see what your feedback is. Do you like stuff like this? Is it like, yeah, I like it, but only at a certain price, you know, is that kind of a thing? Or if you're like, this is just not practical for me, I really want a pen case that I can take with me. I think that tends to be the thing. Most people want pen cases, not pen stands. But I'm very curious. So this is really honestly just for us to get a better idea of the kind of stuff that you guys are into. So that's pretty much what I wanted to cover today. So there you go. Is it what's happening time?
It's time for what's happening.
Okay, let's happen. How do you say? Let's do what's happening.
What's happening?
You know what's funny is we call it what's happening. It really should be what's happened
That's true.
because we're always talking about what's happened.
That's true.
But,
Well, some of it is ongoing, like your saxophone.
it's an ongoing saga.
That has been happening.
Yeah, I might do another log grave. You never know.
You
That
never.
could be-
Oh, I'm pretty sure you will. At
but
some
that's
point,
what will happen. That's not what's happening.
it's always happening.
If
It's
it was
perpetual,
if it was truly what's happening, then all we could talk about is
predictive. Yes.
All we could talk about is talking about what's happening because that's the only thing that would truly.
So we'd be talking about what's happening.
perpetually.
Yikes! What a nightmare.
That's dumb. No, we shouldn't do that. Anyway, have we done an intro or are we leading into it? I don't know.
I don't know.
In case we haven't,
Maybe Tyler did one by
hey,
now.
let's talk about what's happening.
Wow! Look at that.
And if we already cut to that segment, then we just had an awkward pause in there for no reason. Inside
Hooray.
baseball. You get to see how extremely professional and prepared all this is. Anyway, Drew,
Hi.
you have been gone.
I have.
What the heck
should have been
have you been doing?
We went to Ohio to visit my wife's family.
Okay.
So it was an in-law trip.
Okay.
We drove from Richmond,
Yeah. Which way did you go? Did you go
We
west
went
and then north?
west, and then north.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because you and I went before we went to Milan to go with Edison years ago. We went north and then west.
Yeah, we could have done that.
Okay.
It was slightly longer. And we would
To
have
do
had,
that?
and we would have had slightly, and we would have had
Okay.
to go through Northern Virginia.
Right.
But we would have had better exits.
Okay. Like that one diner that was awesome.
Yes.
Remember?
Yeah.
With the black toilets.
Mm-hmm.
It was like
Black
a
toilets
total 80s contemporary
and
themed toilets.
homemade sausage. It was amazing.
It was really good.
But
we ate there
no,
twice. We ate there on the way. It was like
it's perfect.
It was like where was it? 81
I
hit,
wanna-
whatever.
I
the
want to say it
road
was called like
goes.
the Summit or something like that.
I don't know. I don't
Anyway,
remember. I'm sure we took
um,
a picture of it.
It was boring. It was a boring drive. We went all the way through Virginia.
How long does it take you to get there? It's like 10 hours.
No, it was about 8.
That's
Um,
about the same.
yeah,
I feel like 8 and 10 hours. Is
yeah,
just
it was
zone
too
out.
long. It's my max of how far I'll drive.
Did you do that in one day?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's a
Yeah.
drive.
We basically started at like work, like go to work time, and got there about 5.
Yeah.
You know, with a lunch break.
Okay.
So we drove all the way through Southwest Virginia, all the way through West Virginia, and then once we got to what was it? Essentially, what's the capital of West Virginia? Whatever that is.
What is the capital?
I mean, I was just there, so I should
Crap.
remember. Anyway, we got there, and
The
then
only thing coming to mind is Morgantown, but that's where WVU is. That's not the capital.
yeah, no,
It is the capital, West Virginia.
it's like anyway, we got there, and then we went north from there, and then got up into Columbus. So, yeah, it was fine.
Charleston.
Charleston, yeah. So we got to Charleston, then go north from Charleston, approximately around there. And it was good. Got in the family time. We don't travel down there often, over there often.
Over up there.
We did go to the Columbus Zoo. That's a big deal.
Okay.
That was Jack Hanna's zoo, if you remember that guy.
I do vaguely.
He had a TV show. I
Yeah,
think.
I'm familiar, but I'm not. I wasn't like
It's
a
very
fan.
different than the DC Zoo.
Really? How so?
So, well, the DC Zoo is managed by Smithsonian, so it's very much
Right.
hey, this is a place where animals are.
Yeah,
They're mostly like
pretty no frills.
yeah, no frills. This one has all the frills.
Okay.
We're talking.
I also feel like the DC Zoo, you're always walking uphill. I don't know how it happens, but you're just
terrible.
always walking
yeah,
uphill.
no, this one wasn't
Very
like
hilly.
that. This one
Yeah.
was definitely bigger, more animals, more
Mhm.
inside buildings, less smelly, I will say, but way more commercial. We're talking. It had
Okay.
rides. It had
Oh wow.
gift shops, like
Rides like you ride the animals?
no, like
Oh,
kind of carousel fair sort of rides.
like state fair level
yeah,
rides?
yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm not going to get on those. But like lots of refreshment stands, lots of that big indoor food court. Like
I don't hate that though.
no, it was nice. It was just hot as heck.
Really?
So hot.
I mean, it was hot as crap here too.
Yeah,
It
no.
was-
Well, I thought we were going to escape the heat for a little bit, but not on that day.
Yeah, I think Ohio's not that different of a climate
It
than
didn't
here.
seem like it.
Yeah.
But yes, so it was very hot. It was a nice zoo, but man, it just took our energy right away. So, yeah, it would have been so nice if it was a cooler day because it
Yeah.
was a really nice zoo. They even have a water park attached to the zoo. It's like
Why didn't you do that?
I don't know. We weren't prepared. We didn't even know it existed until we got there. We're like, why didn't y'all tell us about this? We're like, it's
Yeah.
fine.
It helps to know that it exists before.
Yeah,
you...
we weren't ready for it.
Okay.
But anyway, we did that. And then we got a rental house with Shannon's sister, her sister's husband, their 3-year-old, Shannon's mom, and Shannon's aunt, all in the same house.
Wow, that's a group.
It was a group. The house was big enough though, so it didn't feel too cramped or anything like that.
Yeah.
The logistics of shopping and groceries was, a little bit of a challenge, but
Sure.
everything worked out. We had some good meals. We did go to White Castle and got what is called a Crave Crate, which is about like 30 burgers. But
Those
they're
tiny
tiny.
little sliders.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
probably ate about 10 or 11 of those.
Wow.
It
I
had
mean, you never get it, so it's
No,
like
exactly.
You got to
So,
overeat them.
I did. It had an effect, but mostly it was worth it. So
Okay.
I'll say that.
It had an effect.
It had an effect.
No need for elaboration on that
No,
one.
sir. But
No.
I did bring a couple Gundam sets for Archer and I to build.
Oh, that's
just
cool.
Just because I didn't want to like go up and play video games away from everybody. This way we could stay amidst the family,
That's
but still
smart.
kind of like disconnect a little bit
That's
and
smart,
go do
yeah.
something. So
Yeah.
he just insisted on not having any help with those. So he just did both of those
Rock on.
himself. So he did
Rock
two.
on.
He did 2 models. Really loved it. Loved it more than the first one we put together. So that was fun. And they did have a little water balloon fight, my son and their 3-year-old. So that was fun. We got to go and pick up tiny bits of water balloon after all was said and done. Don't know if it was worth it, but
You got to make the kids do that.
we should have.
It's like part of the experience. Like, okay, you had your fun. Now we're all picking up water balloon
We
pieces.
should have, because I had
That's what we
I
do.
had stitches in my back from a skin thing I'd recently had done,
Oh,
and then
geez.
so I like excused myself from a little bit of it, but I still did what I could.
Yeah.
And then the most fun I had, honestly, was the day that Shannon and I kind of got to, just spend a little bit together, and we just did some exploring. We went through a pen friend from the Pencast recommended that I go to a bookstore in Columbus that I forget the name of the bookstore. I'll show a picture, but it has 32 rooms in this little independent bookstore. The Book Loft is what it was called.
Okay.
And I don't know what this building could have been. It was in the German Village in Columbus, like a Germany-themed little area.
Okay.
And I don't know what this building could have possibly have been, because we're no joke, 32 little rooms connected by tiny little stairs, awkward turns and angles. Like, it wasn't set up like it used to be a hotel or a school or anything like that, or a home, because it didn't have like any. Maybe it's just meant to be a tiny little bookstore. I have no idea, but it was the wildest experience. It was like a labyrinth.
Huh.
But it was remarkably well organized for as crazy as the architecture was.
Okay.
So that was actually a lot of fun. We spent a lot of time in there. We went to a nearby coffee shop, got some coffee, went to a little boutique store, and went to a Japanese bakery, which was really neat, and got some little, pastries and stuff there, an antique shop. And then I was telling Shannon's family about this Korean ice cream that I had recently that was sweet corn flavored. And I mentioned this to you earlier, I think. So it's from Lottie, which is a store, and it is sweet corn ice cream. So it's kind of like vanilla,
corn
but corn
flavored
flavored
ice cream
with corn in it.
Like
Actual
kernels.
corn, yes.
I'm into that because I like texture in my ice cream.
It was amazing.
I like chunks of things.
But the cool thing is, it's encased totally in 2 halves sandwiched together of cake cone texture,
like
but
a waffle cone type of a thing, or is it like a softer cake?
not like the crunchy waffle cone, more like the cake cone, the softer, crunchier, like what you get at McDonald's.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's
It's made of that sort of texture, but completely encased in a corn cob shaped enclosure.
interesting.
So you can eat the whole thing and no mess.
Huh.
It's delicious. But I was talking about it, and they're like, what the heck is that? And I'm going to go find one. So I found a Lottie nearby, went and got corn ice cream, brought it back. Was like, yeah, corn ice cream. I had some. Archer had some. The 3-year-old had some. No one else. No one
Didn't
else.
even try it?
No.
Why not?
I don't know. It was delicious, but whatever.
Sounds good.
They hate fun apparently. So anyway, it was nice. We drove home. Took forever again. We did stop at Bob Evans because I don't know if you know this, but the Bob Evans in Richmond, we don't really have one anymore.
Yeah.
So that was nice because apparently Ohio is where Bob Evans is from, and I'm recently finding out that like a lot of places in Ohio are where a lot of things are headquartered, which kind of surprised me. But the drive home was fine. We got back, saw the dogs. We missed them terribly, and then. I honestly thought that, because then I took a couple more days off, and I honestly thought I was going to have like a lot of free time, but I really kind of kept myself busy.
Yeah.
The day after we got back was the day Shannon got her tattoo. So she got her first tattoo.
Oh.
So that was a big deal. She had been wanting one for a while, but never really knew what she wanted or who was going to get done by. But she fell in love with this one artist that she's just been following for like over a year now. And that artist finally had an opening, so she met up with her. They talked about style and design, and she ended up getting some flowers from her wedding bouquet.
Oh, cool.
And so she was really happy with that. So she was nervous. I went with her just to kind of.
Was this in Ohio or is this?
No, we're back in Richmond.
Okay.
Yeah.
Richmond's a really big tattoo.
There's lots
city,
of tattoo places.
FYI.
Yeah. And
I think it's like tied with Portland as like the most
really
tattooed city. Yeah.
I did not know that.
Or like the highest tattoo parlors per capita or something like that.
I believe it.
There's some stat that we end up ranking pretty high.
I believe it.
Yeah, a lot of tattoos.
So she got it done by this lady named Elle, who is L.Carnival on Instagram if you want to check her out. A lot of good stuff there. Tattooing out of a place called the House of Wands. It's a co-op, so like it's like just a bunch of artists that kind of like work together. But it was scheduled for about 4 hours. It only needed to be done for about 3, I think. Shannon did a great job. It hurt, but she wasn't like overwhelmed with anything. She toughed it out. She did an amazing job and absolutely loves the design. She could not have been happier. And I thought it was just a great way that she went about it. She got it done on the inside of her arm. So it's like not really out there,
right.
But it looked so good. She was like, "Oh, I kind of wish it was a little more out there."
Yeah.
But there's enough peeking through, so you can see it regardless. But she's just over the moon with it, and I was
cool.
really proud of her for.
I mean, it's in a spot that she can see it.
Yeah,
often,
absolutely. So and then that same day, I had to go get the car inspected. The 2009 car. Which I didn't want to put any money into because I don't want it anymore.
It's at that age where you're like, oh boy,
but
is it gonna pass?
But right now is just not the time. We need another payment, so we're like, all right, it needed brakes. So
it's an important part of the car.
So we're like, all right.
Yeah.
It was easier to swallow that because it didn't end up needing tires, which I thought it might.
Okay.
So we did it. We put more money into it, but I drive it every day, so. It's all right. So
brakes are very important. It's a good.
That was a busy day. It was a busy day, and then I did have a free day. I watched a bunch of movies. I watched The Thing in 4K because I got the disc. Yeah.
Okay.
That's a fantastic movie. There's a lot of controversy about the ending.
I haven't seen it.
It's about.
Don't spoil it.
No. You can in the first 3 minutes you'll see it's about an alien that can kind of copy people, and you don't know who's who in the movie. Gotcha. So the whole movie is about like which one of these dudes out in an Antarctica research station is the alien.
Like Mewtwo in Pokemon.
Oh,
it's Ditto.
Oh, okay, yes.
Ditto. Yeah. Yes. Sorry, I got them mixed up.
Yeah, kind of like an evil, murderous, violent, gory Ditto.
Ditto.
Yes. But I watched that. I watched Mad Max Fury Road, and I watched the third movie. Anyway, it was good movie day. And then 4th of July happened. We went to our friends for a pool party / cookout sort of deal. I did swim because it was so hot. Yeah. Shannon couldn't swim because of her tattoo. So I lent her a rash guard. So she wore that and just kind of like sat in the shallow end with her arm up. She was like holding onto the railing, looking like she's about to like float away, but she really was just elevating her arm so it didn't get wet. Yeah. So she's been very good about tattoo recovery discipline. That's good. But it was good. I, don't get in often. So I was just playing with Archer and we were, throwing things at each other. So it was nice. Nice. And then let's see what else we got going on. Oh, I found a coffee shop, Brian. Do you remember a while ago I took a week off and I said I'm going to go to a different coffee shop every day to try to find a good local coffee shop that has semi-decent parking. Yeah. I did. Yeah. I finally found one because our thing is that There are coffee shops downtown that are fantastic,
Yeah.
but you have to find parking for all of them.
They're really meant for the people that like live in that area.
For them to be walked to.
Yeah.
And I will have no problem paying for parking or searching for a good parking spot if I'm shopping or dining, because something that's going to take like an hour or more. But if I just want a cup of coffee, like, come on now.
Yeah.
But then if you were talking parking lots, then you're going to go to Starbucks or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I found one near us right by the Kabuto and the bowling alley.
Oh, yeah. So it's like not far from our office.
No. And a ton of parking.
Yeah.
And it's like made out of these 3 railway cars, like train cars.
I've
all
seen
stuck
that.
together. Yeah, there's a
I
coffee
didn't know
shop in
that's
there now.
what-
It's new. I think they opened pretty recently. There's a
Okay.
coffee shop in there now, and it's delicious.
Inside a train car.
Yeah, inside
that's
3 of
cool.
them. They're all connected. Like one is like
Interesting.
there's like one little sitting area, then the main coffee place area, and another sitting area where the bathrooms are.
Interesting.
It was fantastic, and I was so happy. I mean,
Okay.
it's coffee. It's good coffee, better than Starbucks. But I was just so happy that it's nearby, locally owned.
That's cool.
And it's a roastery too. They have their own beans. So
Wow.
yeah, very happy about that. I will be going back there. Oh, Total Recall was the other movie I watched.
Oh.
And
Classic.
then yeah, absolutely. And then I watched Guardians
Also
of the
haven't seen it.
Galaxy 3 with Archer, which he didn't really want to see at first. He wanted to see it, but he knew there was some sad parts to it.
Oh.
So I let him know when the sad parts were coming, muted it.
Mm.
I mean, it's CG animal sadness, so it's not like anything
Yeah, but to a
gory.
kid, that seems
Absolutely,
more
yeah.
real.
I'm not going to say. We suffered through Homeward Bound. I'm not going to do that to you.
Yeah, Homeward Bound is pretty
Nothing.
rough.
Heck no, I'm not going to do that to him.
Yep.
I have
Builds character.
animal movie trauma. He
Builds
doesn't do that.
character.
And then we did actually go see Inside Out 2 in the theater.
Oh.
So saw that
okay.
on Sunday.
I haven't seen that yet, but I want to really bad.
It was good.
Yeah?
It was good.
Better than the first?
As good as the first.
I feel like if it's a sequel and it's even approaching as good as the first of something, that says a lot.
It is.
Because the novelty of the first is
It
so
really
tough
is.
to
Well,
beat.
it's just like it does the same thing as the first one does
Mhm.
with a different time period.
Yeah, it's just more
you know.
complex. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It describes the challenges of adolescence
Mhm.
rather than the challenges of just, moving away from childhood, I guess.
Yeah, that's right where my kids are.
Yeah.
Is in the middle of all that.
Yeah.
So that I'm sure will hit very close to home for our whole family.
I've told this before to people. I don't know if I could find 2 films that would benefit all of humanity more than these 2. Like if I could snap my fingers and just have 2 films in the memory of every person in the world, like obviously, like yeah, everybody should see Back to the Future and Ghostbusters, but
wouldn't necessarily do as much for
is
society.
that going to help? Like
Right.
no, what these movies do, it just allows people that may not be able to label certain emotions enough to label them. Like you could just say, after seeing these movies, you can just very easily say, okay, you know what? I think that anxiety is controlling my console right now, or I think that shame or whatever. It just it contextualizes it so brilliantly so that anybody of any age can comprehend it. It's a magical movie, both of them. So yeah, go see it if you're thinking about it, or wait for it to come out on Disney Plus, as long as you see it. And then
Do you know when it's coming out, by the way? Because it's
I
been
don't
on
know.
theaters for a minute, but
not that long. I think it's only been like 3 weeks.
has it been? No, it's been maybe at least a month, I think.
Maybe a month. I
'Cause
remember it
It was new. It was relatively new when we went on vacation.
I
back
think
in
it
early
came out the
June.
week before we went to Ohio. So maybe 4 weeks. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Okay.
I wrote down Archer had an Ellie moment. So
Yeah. What does this mean?
well, so you know how Ellie can get super determined on doing things and chores and stuff
I've never
when
experienced that.
she has something that she wants real bad.
Mhm.
Archer has never yet displayed that up until he saw that the Switch had for sale a game called Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge. And it's kind of a reimagining of the old Ninja Turtle beat 'em ups from the 90s, like
Okay.
Turtles in Time. I don't know
Yeah,
if you remember
yeah.
that one.
Oh yeah.
So it's got like the theme song, it's got characters from the original cartoon and action figures, like none that he really knew, but he just saw it and was like, I need that. And for whatever reason, he fell in love with the character Usagi Yojimbo, the samurai rabbit. I don't know if you remember him,
Yeah.
but he's like, who's that? I'm like, oh, that's Usagi Yojimbo. He's a samurai rabbit. And his eyes were just like, what? Samurai rabbit? I love him. And so he was a playable character in the DLC. So the game came with the DLC. Anyway,
Nice.
he got obsessed with that. And I was like, dude, you're 8 points away from what you would need to get $20.
Yeah.
So homeboy was doing dishes. He was vacuuming. He stripped his bed, washed his sheets, put on new sheets, put on new pillowcases, all that stuff.
Yes.
He cleaned his bathroom, shower, sink, all that stuff, toilet.
Right on.
Like, he went nuts. He was like, what else? What else? What else? What else?
That's awesome.
And then
That's so good for character building, just like associating like I want something, so I will work for it. Like that's
and in the back of my mind, I'm like, I kind of want this game too, but I see like how bad he wants this. I'm like, this is an opportunity for
100%.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So he got it done. And then of course after he gets it, I'm like, hey,
do you want to help with this? Like, nah. Yep, that's normal. That's normal. You're like, wow, this kid is so motivated, and then afterward, you're like 3 weeks of pulling teeth to get them to pick up after themselves. Okay. Yeah,
that's normal. All right, thank you, bro.
Yeah. That. You're continually looking for the things that will motivate them.
All right, well, I'm glad I hopped on it then.
Yeah. You got to you'll get smarter and you'll find more things. They'll get more motivated by things that cost real money.
Excellent.
They'll start working for it. But
and then a little bit of
good signs.
Yeah. A little bit of a garden update. My kumquat tree is kumquatting.
Oh,
the blossomed, the flowers crinkled and fell off, and then inside of the flower is a little tiny green ball that will become a kumquat. So I'm really excited that it's fruiting in its first year.
That's really
cool.
This
is something I bought online. I wasn't sure it was going to do well in Virginia weather, but then it's been so hot. So it's probably happy. But I'm gonna
because it prefers a tropical climate, doesn't it?
Yeah. So that's working well. Tomatoes are growing taller than me, so they're doing all right. Just started pulling, had a BLT night last night, so we did have our tomatoes. The first couple were not the best, not as juicy as I normally like them, but we've got like 6 plants, so we'll see. We'll be okay.
Yeah.
But things are coming along.
Neat. That's awesome.
What you got going on?
Well, as you know, I hit my 100-hour practice on the tenor sax. Well, I had been awaiting the delivery,
which they were not great on providing you with tracking info.
Well, so I know a little bit about the online retail business, as you could imagine. So, there's two things that can happen when you face your own delays or setbacks in an online shopping type experience. You can either go, I know how to run a business, therefore I will be just a petulant, aggressive, I know better, you should do better kind of a person.
If I was doing this, here's what I would do.
Yeah, but
when I was running my business, I would never have allowed.
Yeah. Or you can go, you know what? We run a company and we are all well-intended and sometimes stuff just happens. Maybe there's something that's just happened and I just need to kindly reach out and just inquire, let them know that I'm excited and interested and see if I can get some context.
You did the first one, right?
Of course. I was texting them every 5 minutes. No, but I mean, there were some things that were like, okay, they had a live chat on their site that said like, we're available to chat anytime. They wouldn't respond, so it's like clear that was like just a default option, but they weren't actually there. And I know I'm buying like more direct from the manufacturer. I know the service is not going to be quite as good because they're not probably staffing it like, a major retailer might. So I knew the trade-offs going in. And what ended up happening is it was like 12 days had gone by and I just got no update. It just said order was processing. And I was like, okay, I feel like it's been long enough. It said like normally ships within 3 to 5 business days and it had been 12. So I was like, it's appropriate for me to reach out and just be like, hey, did my order go through? Is there a hang up somewhere? So I reached out in a couple different mediums and I waited a couple days and I was like, all right, I'm going to start being more of a pain if I don't hear back. But they got back to me after 2 days. So I was like, okay. But basically they had one. It was basically like the last one that they had, but it had gotten damaged somehow. Like it had scratches on it and stuff like that. So they were like QC inspecting it before they ship out, which I appreciate. Yeah. And they said it had scratches on it. So they have sort of like a bottom shelf type thing on their site. And they were like, if you want, you can do the bottom shelf thing, or we're going to get another shipment in a couple of days.
No, you've waited this
and then we'll ship it out.
long.
Yeah, and that's kind of where I was like,
Yeah, no, you
I
get
was
your
like,
good
nah,
one.
I don't want some beat up old thing. So I was like, all right, I can wait. And then I waited a couple of days and it got in and they shipped it out and I got it. So I was very, very excited. And
Did it come with a hard case?
Yeah, it came in a case. Yeah, it's
like
got its
with the
own-
latches and stuff. And
It's not like a hard plastic case. It's more like a, I don't know. It's more like a cloth, cover, like you would have for like a carry-on bag or something like that.
okay,
Like more of a soft.
so it's
carry-on
not
bag.
rigid or formed.
It's not super rigid, but it's got like a foam type insert that like wraps around the horn.
Oh, okay.
But the
okay.
outside of the case is not like a hard shell.
Gotcha. Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's more of like yeah, you can get like the same thing with like carry-on luggage that it's like a hard plastic shell, or you can get some that are more like fabric-y.
Yeah.
So it's still
the fabric-y
somewhat
one.
rigid, but not as rigid as plastic. So that's how it arrives.
Gotcha. So more of like an internal frame than a
Yeah.
solid plastic molding.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Like
I don't know why
wouldn't-
I care about this.
I wouldn't want to drop it down the stairs. Let's put it that way.
Good call.
But for me, playing at home and probably never transporting it very far
Until you bring it here.
until I bring it here. Yeah,
Do you have it? Did you bring it?
I didn't bring it today.
All right.
I didn't bring it today.
I didn't see it, but
No. So,
we know your ninja ways. You've already established this.
well, it's hard to hide this thing.
Wow.
Yeah, so I did get it. And, I was nervous because I was like, I have not touched one of these in 20 years. But I had the tenor. I was like,
Is it really that
probably
different?
going to enjoy it. It's a little different. Like, it's not vastly different. Like, all saxophones are somewhat interchangeable. But I was like, have I built it up into something after all this time? And I can honestly say that I didn't even build it up enough. I'm having such a blast.
I am
playing this
so
thing.
glad to hear that.
It's everything I could have hoped it would be. Not because like the horn that I got is that amazing, because it's a budget horn, but just playing it again, it just like brings back all kinds of great memories from years ago. And I'm a big person. So when I interact with objects that are made for people that are not as big as me, I always feel like I'm a really big person. You know what I mean? Like that's how it is with a lot of pens. Like I hold standard pens or thinner pens and I'm just like, it's hard. Like even when I learned how to play guitar, like my fingers would cramp up and stuff like that. But then when I learned how to play the bass, it was like, oh,
This feels
this
natural.
feels more natural. And, like when I played the clarinet when I was in middle school, it was like, oh, my fingers would cramp. And I was like, I'm just not made for this instrument. But then when I got to bass clarinet, contrabass clarinet, I was like, it just like, this is how my fingers naturally spread apart. And this makes sense. And that's kind of how it is with the Barry sax too.
So your fingers are more close together with the tenor, and then now that you've got the Barry,
it's actually not that different. I was surprised. I thought my hands would have been a lot more spread out, but no, it's not that bad. It's not that
Nice.
different. And in some ways it's actually more responsive and comfortable than the tenor even, which is like kind of surprising to
Is it
me.
noticeably heavier?
It is heavier. Like at first when I picked it up, I was like, oh, it's not as heavy as I would have thought that it is. But then after you play with it for a little while, it's like,
Yeah.
I'll play with it. Essentially I'm playing with it. I'm not even like keeping track of time as I'm playing it. I'm playing it until I'm like, man, my back is killing me or my lip is torn up. Like I need to stop.
So do you sit with it like in your lap or?
No, I
with
stand.
So you have like a strappy sort of deal?
So I have a couple different like neck strap type things, but the Barry sax has got some heft to it. So I actually bought, it's big company Van Doren, they're out of Paris. It's a harness. So it's like a belt that I clip on and it's got straps that come up the back and then it's got pads for my shoulders and then it hangs off the front.
Nice.
So it's like buckling into like
Yeah.
a race car. Like it's
Oh,
like
yeah.
a whole like harness situation.
I remember when I had a hiking pack, and the difference that
Oh,
that middle
yeah.
buckle does
It makes such a
when
big
you
difference.
when you don't have all the weight on straps, you
Yeah.
bring your waist into
Oh,
the
yeah,
into
yeah.
the equation. Oh my God, what a
Yeah,
big difference!
Exactly. So that was a really good investment.
That's awesome.
I'm glad I got that. But yeah, I mean, I probably should play it sitting down more, but I can't.
You can't dance sitting
I gotta
down.
move around. Like that's just part
Yeah.
of the thing for me. So like, I will finish playing, and I'm like, it feels like I've
You
been
gotta
working
do
out.
the feet spin like that Too Many Zoos guy
like
does.
Leo P.
Yeah.
I'm getting there. I'll get there. We'll see. But yeah, it's just awesome. And I got a whole bunch of good sheet music and stuff like that. And I'm just having an absolute blast. I'm playing like classical music. I'm playing Tower Power. I'm playing, Mario themes and all kinds of stuff. There's so much accessibility to sheet music now. It's just ridiculous.
That's awesome.
So I can basically find whatever I want to play, and you can get like MIDI like accompaniments and stuff like that. So I'm just having a blast. So yeah, I'm really, really enjoying it. And I don't know, it just feels like me. Like
perfect.
It's just the size of it and everything. And I've just got, the lungs for it and all that kind of stuff.
It needed to happen.
It did need to happen. So it's always cool when you like picture something in your mind and you work towards it and you're kind of like ready. Because if you've lived enough life at 40 where you're like, I could very well be disappointed by this. But then when something actually is like, no, this is every bit as, fulfilling as I would have hoped it to be.
That's how it felt when I got my Pizza Hut lamp.
There you go. So you have recent experience. Exactly. You're like, this just feels right.
Yeah.
It just
needs to be here.
That's right. That's right. So that's a blast. I definitely want to like share, like play it or something like that. But I just got it and I can play it okay, but I'm not like good.
Imagine the office reverb though.
Oh my gosh. It's loud. I will say that.
How funny would it be though if like if people were just going about their work and then they just hear saxophone happening somewhere?
I imagine if I played it, especially at full volume, you would hear it in the entire building.
That would be amazing. Especially if there's a customer care person on the phone and they're like, what is that? Oh, that's Brian Goulet playing the saxophone.
Brian on the saxophone.
And they'd be like, excuse me? What? Are you being serious?
If you're a Pencast watcher, they'd be like, oh, cool. Can you like share it on the
Heck yeah. They'd be like, is it really? That's awesome.
It's cool. So yeah, I'll do something with it. I still need to do the sax on the tractor. That's going to happen at some point.
Nice.
It's just so friggin' hot right now. I don't want to do it,
that.
But I'll come up with something interesting to do it. But yeah, I'm just friggin' loving it. And I'm going to play the Barry a lot. All right. So got my Barry, which is awesome. This is the harness that I was talking about. It's like this whole big thing. But I got a little sampling of something I've been working on. It's I've had this about a week and a half, so bear with me if I play some wrong notes. But this is the beginning of Moanin' by Charles Mingus. Very solid jazz standard, especially for Barry sax. A lot of air it takes to play this, but anyway, I'm having fun with it. But hope you like it.
You know what I want to see? I want to see you kind of like, how like snake charmers or rat catchers kind of have like, they're often depicted as having musical instruments that can influence animals.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You need to find a way to lure yellow jackets to their demise using your saxophone. Just like, like bring them into
like the Pied Piper.
Yeah, exactly.
With a saxophone.
But to kill them,
Oh my
like turn on one of your really giant fans, and just like fly them right into it.
I don't know, man. Yellow jackets. They're just Satan incarnate. They would find some loophole to just destroy me. But anyway, so I'm having a blast with that.
That's fantastic.
Who knows what'll come of it, but I'm just enjoying it. I literally have played it every day since
all that needs to come of it is more joy.
Yeah, that's living the dream. Perfect. What can I say? One thing that helps is we'll segue into my next thing. So I don't know why, but all of a sudden this extreme heat that we've been having, I got inspired to start cycling regularly again. And yeah, because it's like, why not? I don't know what clicked in my brain. I don't know, but I don't know. I've just been heavy for a while. Like COVID has just added a lot of weight on it. I've tried different things and nothing has helped to get it off. And it was just like, I'm just sick of being as heavy as I am. So I'm like, I'm not going to have any expectations, but I know what has worked for me before,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm going to do it again. So I need to get more sleep. I need to go cycling, and I need to watch my diet more.
Sleep has a surprising amount to do with it.
It does.
I recently read that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I got sleep apnea, and I've got all kinds of stuff that makes it harder for me.
Yeah.
But also like being heavier doesn't help with those things either. So
Yeah.
it's like I'm kind of
Cycle.
caught in this cycle of like, because I'm heavier and all these things, like it's harder to get more sleep. It's harder to do all these things, which makes it hard to lose weight. And I'm like, okay, something's got to give here. So I'm trying it again. So I've been doing that for a week and a half now. I started out in the evenings and I was like, it's just too freaking hot.
You can get the rowing machine out again.
I can row, but my gut's really big. And so like rowing is like, like I feel really sluggish.
You were super excited about that when you got it though.
I have rowed quite a bit,
Yeah.
but it's like, I need like the high intensity cardio.
Oh,
So
gotcha.
I'm doing that right now. So I'm cycling in the morning. So I'm just waking up a little bit earlier, cycling, showering, and then I have more energy in the
You
morning.
say every morning?
Every morning.
Oh
yeah.
my
That's what I've been
God.
doing. Yeah. Yeah.
That's a
So-
crazy amount of discipline.
Yeah. This morning I did. So I'm a couple days a week, I'm doing what's called high intensity interval training, HIIT training. So basically you alternate between going as hard as you can and then kind of slowing it down. The idea being that you're elevating your heart rate up very quickly, and then it sort of slows down, but then you get it back up there again. So it's a more intense form of exercise. It's meant to kind of pack more into a short time frame. So I'm doing that a couple days a week. I'll do longer rides on the weekends and stuff like that. But I've ridden my bike a lot. I probably clocked 5,000 miles on my bike over the years. So I know how to do it, but I'm just a little heavier right now. So
Well, it takes a lot of work. I mean, the first time you did it,
Mhm.
like it was a lot of effort.
Oh yeah, it was like 9 straight months of riding. I mean, I was at the point where I was riding 120 to 140 miles a week.
Like
Yeah.
everybody's different, but everybody has, it takes a certain amount of work to do the same thing.
Mhm.
I'm sorry, different amounts of work to do the same thing
Yeah.
on different people. And
Yeah.
from what you've described, like it takes a ton to,
I think I'm just accepting that like my body style, it just takes me more work to
Yeah.
not be like grossly overweight.
Well,
Like I don't look super overweight,
no.
but I am quite heavy.
Well.
At my peak, the heaviest I've ever been was 267 pounds. That's the most I ever saw on the scale, which was not that long ago. So I was like, this is getting a lot. This
You
is
got
getting
to
a lot.
be at least 265 to fight in the heavyweight division of the UFC.
Oh, okay. Well, I couldn't be there now, but if I had a really big steak dinner or something.
No.
maybe I
Sorry,
could
you have
get
to be
there.
under 265.
Oh, to be heavyweight?
Yeah, 265 is the limit. You can't be above that and still do heavyweight.
What happens if you're above that?
They don't have a class for that.
They don't let you fight?
No,
Like you're too fat to
they
fight?
don't. They don't have a. They don't have a super heavyweight. Some
Oh.
some places do, not UFC.
Well,
though.
then right now I could fight in super heavyweight. I couldn't fight at all. I'm not a fighter. I would get destroyed immediately. But yeah, so I'm like 253 now. So
Yeah.
I've gotten it down a bit, but I'm working on getting it lower. And the thing I will say is in this heat, the humidity has been insane here in Virginia.
It's been so bad, and it just creeps right into buildings too.
Oh yeah. I cannot stop sweating. And I always talk about this in the Pencast,
Yeah.
but like I will go cycling in the morning and then I will come back from that. I'll like eat some like icy pop type things, put ice packs on I'll shower with a cold shower. I'll put ice packs like on my body and I'm still dripping sweat onto the floor. So now I have a routine where I have to like have a hand towel with me while I'm getting my breakfast ready after riding because I just am sweating so much. But I don't care. I'm
you've
doing it
got
anyway.
You've got a tractor. Here's what my recommendation
Oh
is.
boy, where is this going?
You know what you do with your phones when they get a little bit of moisture in them?
What do I do with my phones when there's moisture in them?
You put them in a bowl of rice. So I'm saying, you get your tractor,
Oh.
you order yourself some rice.
Just fill the bucket with rice and just like
Well, I'm thinking like a pool of some kind, like
Okay.
a blow up pool,
okay,
and then you do the bikes.
full of rice.
You do the biking. You come home. You lay in the rice
Lay
for a
down
little
in
bit.
rice?
It's dried rice. It's dried rice.
Not for long, it wouldn't be. I would just have rice stuck all over my body. I would look like a sushi roll. I would just be covered in rice. That would stick so bad. So bad.
But you don't get out until the rice has absorbed all the moisture.
But I would keep sweating. It would just be endless moisture.
The rice is going to absorb it. Don't worry.
Oh my gosh.
This is a foolproof plan. And then you go take your shower once you're all dry.
Wow. This is not a foolproof plan. This is a full plan. But it's very creative. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Okay. Well, either way, just know whenever you're watching me for the next several months, I'm sweating a lot. But my hope is like I'm being more rational and realistic. I've tried so many times to lose weight, and I've even like talked about it in the Pencast here before. And it's easy to fall off the wagon, but I'm like, I'm just going to try it again.
Well, you know you can do it. You've done it before.
I have, but I was 30 last time I did it this hard.
That's a ton of work.
I'm now 40. So I'm realistic that it's going to be harder.
Well, also have a realistic goal in mind too. Like you're not going to get back down to where you got back down last time.
That's not where I'm trying to. If I can be between 220 and 230, that's a nice
realistic.
spot.
That's realistic for you.
210 would be like amazing, which is crazy because that's like really heavy for most people. But like the lowest I've been able to get in my adult life was 195. That is the lowest I've ever been able to get. And that was cycling at least an hour every single day and being on like 1,000 calorie deficit restricted diet. And I plateaued at 195.
Your body just does not want to be there.
No, does not. French Canadian, heritage. They're just like, you're going to starve at all times. So you must pack on everything. This is the way my body works.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I'm back on the saddle, literally, because bike seat's called a saddle. If you didn't know that.
I did not know that.
Yep. Back in the saddle.
Dang.
Let's see here. What else? I sealed my deck, that little deck thing that I built. I've been intending to seal it for like the last 9 months. I finally did it.
Oh.
It was really short. It took me like an hour and a half, but I just finally did it.
That's kind of inspiring. I need to do mine.
Exciting.
My dog's claws have ruined the last seal.
Dog's claws will do that. Yeah. There's nothing you can do.
Didn't even last a year.
No. You can just touch it up, Well, I guess if they're like running all over the deck, you kind of, You don't have to do the railings. If you use the same stuff, you could just do the surface.
Yeah, I had somebody do it for me, so I don't have any stuff. I need to go. I don't know what they used, so it's going to be a different color.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. Let's see here. That's all I want to say about that. Seal the deck. It's boring, but whatever. Let's see here. So we had something happen while this was last week. I don't remember. It wasn't this past. No. Last week was 4th of July. The week before that, we went, I guess on Thursday, we went to Bricks and Minifigs. Joseph and I will go there. So they have like secondhand Lego stuff there. They just have like a huge tables that you just rummage through Legos to get all kinds of stuff.
And you hoard your studs and your Technics bits?
Yeah, I'm not the studs anymore. I'm just all Technics now. Anytime I can find gears, I want all the gears and any like motor, like piston, parts, like engine parts or anything with gears and pistons.
Yeah.
That's what I'm going for. So I'm always rummaging through those because I'm there with Joseph anyways. I'm like, I'm here. I might as well do something. Joseph's super into Lego Bionicle. And this last time, we've gone multiple times and sometimes it's slim pickings because it's all depends on what people trade in.
Yeah.
So, I guess it kind of makes it like adventurous and fun, because you never know what you're going to get. But this last time that we went, we had two things that happened. I have rarely seen Joseph this excited. So we went there just as a father-son thing. It was like a Thursday night or something like that. I think Rachel had like a massage appointment or something. So we all drove out there together, and while she did her appointment, we went to the Lego place. Well, we get there, and firstly, we find like an absolute gold mine of Lego Bionicle stuff. Like Joseph he's like watches YouTube videos about all this stuff. He was
like loose Bionicle stuff?
Well, they had like whole figures and all kinds of loose stuff.
In the bins.
Yeah. Okay. So we've never seen a stockpile like this of Bionicle stuff.
And they just dumped them in the...
Yeah, because they don't make Bionicle anymore.
Wow.
So, and it was just all in there. He was picking out all this stuff. He was just on cloud 9. And then, they told us as we started to pick through this stuff, they were like, oh, we've got like a summer deal right now that something like whatever the temperature is, and if something related to the temperature, it's like that much of a discount off the stuff. So essentially everything ended up being half price. So
because it was so hot.
I guess.
That's amazing.
It was just a sale. I don't know. It was a gimmick kind of a thing, but we didn't even know that was happening. So we go there. His money is stretching twice as far as it normally does. And it's like Bionicle bonanza. So he was like, my knees are literally shaking. I'm so excited.
Aww.
Like he was just beside himself. So that was just fun because he's like 14 now. And, he's not,
amazing.
He doesn't get that excited about everything anymore like a little kid would. But I got to see some of that like little kid in him. Which was really cool. And he just got some cool stuff. So this kid has been on a tear building these Bionicle robots. I'll share the picture, but
he is so good. I saw a car that he made, and it was like it looked like it
this
looked
is like his life, man. It's like his calling to build this stuff.
Well, he could be like a designer.
Yeah, he really could at this point. So he already had that display case that I mentioned a long time ago that like we built together.
Yeah, you made the
for his,
glass
like
thing.
Lego Star Wars like battle scene. Well, he has built all these Bionicle robots. He's probably got 30 to 35 of them now that he's created because of all these kits that, pieces that he's bought just rummaging through stuff at this Bricks and Minifigs. I'll share this picture. I'm showing Drew on my phone right now, but
are all these these are all ones he created?
Yeah. Yeah.
They all got like unified color schemes and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
None of them look hodgepodge at all.
No, they're not hodgepodge. He's very intentional about all of them.
Oh my god.
And he can tell you like all the different characters and the things and all that.
Ones that he like storylines that he created?
Well, he'll be like, "Oh yeah, it's this mask from this thing."
Oh, okay.
And he knows. He's like, "Oh, I built this one because it looks close to this one, but I don't have the armor, so I use this other armor." So he knows all the stuff, and I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about,
amazing.
But I respect it. So he's just, they look really cool. I totally get it. This is like his form of action figures, basically, and it's just his thing, and he just friggin' loves it. So now we're like, it's getting to the point where like he doesn't have room to put all this stuff in his room, so we're like building more shelving so that he's gonna end up just being in like this wall-to-wall like shelving display, this like library of just Lego figures. And I'm like, well, I wonder where he gets this obsessive collective building thing from. So he's just having an absolute blast with it. So that's really cool. And then let's see here. What else? We have like a family of wild turkeys that are just like regularly visiting through our yard now, which is kind of cool. It's like the first time I was like, oh my gosh, those are wild turkeys. And now it's like, oh, there's the turkeys again. And it's like a turkey family. Like it's all the little poults, as they're called, the little baby turkeys.
Poults?
Poult. Yeah, like poultry, like a poult.
Oh.
That's a baby turkey.
So
apparently.
P-O-U-L-T.
P-O-U-L-T.
Wow.
Is a poult. That's a baby turkey.
That?
Yep. So I finally, like, this was literally, I think it was yesterday afternoon. Yeah, they're like these little,
turkey pick.
You got like mama turkeys walking around and all these little turkey.
That's a lot of turkeys.
These little turkey babies. Yeah, there's like 8 or 10 of them.
Oh, wow.
That follow the little mamas around, and I can see they're getting bigger now.
Yeah.
They're getting uglier as they get bigger. They're really cute.
They're in that awkward phase.
Yeah, they're in like their teenage years,
It happens to all of us.
Yeah. But I've seen like a big male turkey as well. Those things are crazy looking because they don't look that different than the females. They're slightly bigger, but when they puff up, they really puff up and it looks crazy.
Have you seen any of them fly?
No.
No.
They're always just chilling.
Chilling turkeys.
They walk through and they're like,
they feel safe.
Doing the head thing as they walk
safe.
through. So it's a bunch of turkeys and they're all just like doing that kind of thing. It's really funny.
I wonder why they do that.
I think it's a balance thing.
Yeah, because pigeons do that a lot too. Like
very
extreme.
Yeah, turkeys do that like pigeons do.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's kind of funny.
I think you're probably right. It's probably a balance equilibrium thing.
But they're like picking, worms or whatever, bugs out of the dirt.
Funky.
So I'm like, okay, yeah, that's cool.
You're doing turkey things.
They're just like chilling. They're like just come out of the woods, walk through our backyard, go back into the woods. It's like a regular occurrence now.
Build a little hammock for them out there.
We got a turkey hammock. Hey now, we do have a hammock frame out there. We don't leave the hammock part out all the time.
That's probably what they're looking for.
I would think so.
They're probably looking for a hammock.
What feels right to them. Yeah. And then last thing, Rachel's really been on a tear buying IKEA furniture that I get to assemble.
I wish I could buy some IKEA furniture. I've got my eye on a Havsta bookcase that I just haven't been able to pull the trigger on just yet.
We just bought the Malm.
Oh,
Malm dressers.
M-A-L-M.
Yep.
I'm familiar with the Malm.
The Malm.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we bought 3 Malms.
Oh.
Because Rachel's completely redoing her closet arrangement. We had like a wire shelving. She's like stacking pajamas on there and they're all flopping and falling off. And I was like, well, just put them in clear bins, and she's just not vibing with that.
I'd like for you to just try to, in the future, whenever you need to say Malm in front of the family, do it with a Schwarzenegger accent. It works well.
What does that sound like?
Malm. Get the Malm. Yeah,
that's really good.
It works.
Yeah.
What do you have there, Rachel? Is it the Malm?
Malm. Okay.
Enjoy your Malm.
That's right.
When I was watching Total Recall, it shows 2 people in space outfits at the beginning of the movie, and it's a dream sequence, so you don't really know who they are. One of them falls down a cliff, and as they're falling down the cliff is, "Ah!" I'm like, oh, okay, well, I know who that is.
That's great. Oh, so classic. Oh, goodness. Yeah. And then, so we did that. That was my whole like weekend. Not this past weekend, but the one before. Was building 3 of those units, which was, I actually kind of like doing it.
Me
and
too.
Rachel helped too. Like, to give her credit. The kids were useless. They did not want to help at all.
I love it.
But-
My knees don't love it.
I used a folding table. I built it on an elevated surface.
Oh, I've never done that.
Well, I mean, to a point, and then you have to like,
Yeah.
basically once it's a point where it can like stand up, then you do it. But then all the drawers, I built it at a table. It made a world of difference.
That sounds amazing.
I can't build things on the floor anymore, especially being as big as I am. Like, I can't do it.
Oh, it doesn't feel good.
Yeah.
I don't have a folding table though.
That's an investment that we made a while ago. For honestly, most of the time we use it is for this, and then for like gift wrapping, like especially Christmas time.
That's smart too.
Because both of our kids have their birthdays near Christmas, so it's like a wrapping bonanza for us around Christmas time. So I'm like, I'm not doing this like on the bed or the floor or whatever. Like, we're doing, and we, especially with presents, you can't do it like on the kitchen table because you can't have the presents all out everywhere where everybody can see it. So we got to do it in our room. So that's where the folding table came in. Plus, we have family visit for like, meals and stuff like that. We break out the folding table. It's just one of those things.
Yeah, smart.
Yep. But yep. And she's got some desks that are on the way as well. So this coming weekend, I'll be building desks. I don't know what weird Swedish name that they have, but it's something entertaining, I'm sure. But yeah, so we bought a couple desks for the kids that were like whatever we could find during COVID virtual schooling type of things. And it's like, well, these were never a long-term thing. So we've found a good home for those desks, and we're replacing them for things now that our kids are like legit, like high school level work and homework and stuff like that. So it's like, all right, we're going to invest in a more serious arrangement there. So that'll be part of my weekend this weekend, as long as going to the dump to get rid of the old play set that I tore down with the tractor, which I still have and need to get rid of. And then as soon as I dump that out, I get to fill it with the desks that we're doing so that I can drive them to the place that I'm giving them to. And then I get to come back and build more desks. So I was like, oh boy, I just get to have a blast. So I know how I'm using my mental health day this week, going to the dump and hauling desks, but it's all good. It happens. It's just
I wasted a day
stuff.
off because the weather started off being okay. So I looked under my deck at the state of my 3 kayaks. And I was like, they could use a little hose off. I got them all 3 out, and all 3 of the tarps had fallen off of all 3 of them. They were a mess. One of them had filled with water, so it smelled terrible.
Gross.
So I was like, I can't put them back under there at this point. So it was hours. It got immediately hot, and I regretted everything.
Yep.
But they're clean now. I put some boards
you
over
go.
top of the tarp this time.
Okay.
I have some chopped up pool noodles to elevate the seat cover because it's got a
Nice.
seat cover
Yeah.
and then a tarp over top of that.
Okay.
I could store them upside down, but they're on these rails that I slide them under my deck, so
Yeah.
that they wouldn't work if they were upside down.
Right.
But I told my brothers, I was like, y'all, because one of them is my brother's and 2 of them are mine.
Okay.
I was like, y'all, we got to go kayaking soon because I just did all this.
There you go. They're clean now.
Yeah. So
Yeah. I had that situation with my grill right now. I need to clean my grill because like
I know, me
I
too.
haven't used it yet this season, and it's got like crap growing in it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't remember this happening before.
Yeah.
It's like, I guess I didn't clean it at the end of the season, and then just stuff.
I haven't cleaned
started
mine since I
growing in there.
bought it. Nothing's
Yeah.
growing, but it looks terrible. I've cleaned my
Yeah.
grates, but I haven't cleaned down in
I need
the
to clean
firebox.
the whole, and I've done it before, and it took me hours to clean that thing before. Maybe I just need a better, some cleaning agent or something, some better way to clean it that's more effective, because you get the right chemicals on there and it'll do most of the work for you.
Ugh.
I don't know what that is though. So I think we're having like a bunch of people over for something next week. So it's like, crap, I need to actually clean the grill because we're going to have like, oh my gosh, we're going to have so many people over for something. It's just like, it happens to be like a bunch of people are kind of in town and they all know each other. So we're ending up being the hosting. We're going to have like 14 people or something over. And it's like, the only thing I can cook with that big is like grilling,
Hot
it
dog
makes sense.
sandwiches.
There you go. So, but I'm not going to cook it on that grill right now. So I got to figure that out. But anyway, that's where we're at right now.
Hand everybody a stick. It's bonfire time.
Right. Exactly. Hot dogs over the campfire. Okay. That's it. That's what's going on in our lives. And that's it. So we'll just wrap this thing up and let you be on your merry way. Well, I want to thank everybody for watching or listening. Leave us some feedback. Let us know how we're doing. 142. Are we still on our grind, or are we slacking? I don't know. Tell us. Leave us some questions as well so we can have more episodes. And check out gouletpens.com for your fountain pen, ink, and paper needs. And my random fun fact. I tried to pull from something. I don't have a stockpile of facts that I feel really solid about. I keep a spreadsheet of all kinds of random stuff, but I want to make sure it's worthy of the Pencast. So I was kind of curious about it because we talked a lot about ink, and I was like, how old is ink? What is the history of ink? I vaguely know, but not really.
I don't even vaguely know.
It's very debatable. I've read sources that said 4,500 BC and 250 BC, and I'm like, those are thousands of years apart from each other. But so I was like, I don't know these sources, but I was like, Britannica, former encyclopedia people. That's something. That's at least I feel somewhat confident about that as a source. So they said that writing inks date to about 2500 BC, and it kind of happened in both ancient Egypt and in China around the same time. They weren't communicating with each other, but they both kind of developed it around that time. So they consisted of lamp black, whatever that is, ground with a solution of glue or gums, molded into sticks, and then allowed to dry. And then when they used them, the sticks were mixed with water. So it was kind of like a paste, I guess, that you would end up kind of creating to make your own ink. They've used various color juices and extracts and stuff like that, including indigo, pokeberries, cochineal, and sepia. For many centuries, a mixture of soluble iron salt with an extract of tannin was used as writing ink. So that's iron gall to make modern blue-black inks. The modern inks usually contain ferrous sulfate. That's truly iron gall.
That's the old iron gall.
The real iron gall, which you can actually pretty much make that yourself. You can pick up oak galls, and there's people, it's not a super complicated process. You can make your own iron gall ink, but not fountain pen friendly. Very acidic, only for dip pens and quills and stuff like that. So yeah. Anyway, that's it. And of course, with modern synthetic dyes and stuff like that, really opened up the world. So I was just kind of reading up. Britannica's got an interesting thing. I'm not going to cover all of it, but I do think it's kind of interesting that for pretty much most of modern history, it was only black or blue-black ink that existed at all. There were really no colored inks, except for maybe the off, juice or whatever that they tries to use something. But there was no reliable colored ink until relatively recently. So the first patent that was issued was in England for making colored inks in 1772. And then in the 19th century, chemical drying agents appeared, making it possible for use a wide variety of pigments for colored inks. So it really wasn't until 18th century, 19th century, where colored ink was really an option. Wow. So the world was a very boring place in the writing world.
Drab.
Yeah. So in all of history, what we are experiencing now in terms of writing, products and experiences, it's a relative boon, you could say. So we're living at a cool point in history to be able to write things down in interesting colors. So that's something that our forebearers really never got to experience. It's a relatively recent thing. So that's it. That's all I had to share.
Cool.
Just approximating how far back ink goes and how relatively recent modern inks truly are. It was basically with the scientific explosion of chemistry and stuff in the early 1900s.
That's not what I would have guessed. I probably would have just kind of defaulted to the Renaissance, just because it's a relatively safe bet as to when things were invented. But
I mean, part of the Renaissance, part of what came of that was the printing press. So Gutenberg printing press, that was 1440s, I think.
Yeah, that was the Renaissance kind of happened as a result of that.
Exactly. Yeah. So I mean, there were some ink things that happened mainly in not so much in the handwriting, but in the printing.
Yeah.
That happened.
I just would have been one of those Ninja Turtles came up with colored ink, probably. I don't know.
No, it doesn't seem that way.
Apparently
it was much later.
How about that? That's surprising.
I don't think there was a lot of technological improvement with ink until pretty much the 1700s. It was basically either some kind of carbon mixture, or with gum and stuff like that, gum arabic and charcoal basically, or like oak tan and iron gall type stuff. So that was it for a long time.
Well,
now we have
look at
so
us
many
living
more
in the
options.
fountain pen heyday that we were living
I know,
in.
right? And just think of that too. If they didn't have like dyes and stuff like that, they really didn't have colored anything, clothing, linens, any of that stuff. So it's like, if you live back in that time, you would basically like everything was just like brown, pretty much like whatever color like leather ends up being. Like you couldn't dye it any color, so it'd be just like natural leathers, you know.
I thought I've seen
cotton.
like pictures of royalty with like vibrant colors, like, you know.
Well, you could get that, but they had to like basically crush up like super rare like shells from snails and whatever. You know, it was like super hard to find that stuff naturally, so it was insanely expensive, which is why it was like reserved for royalty.
Yeah.
You know, so purple was like the royal color because it was so expensive to get anything purple colored. So yeah, it would have been, you know, just normal folk like us. We would just be walking around with just like tan, brown clothing, probably dirty, you know, that would have been it.
Definitely dirty.
Everything you read, well, probably couldn't read, but if you did read something, it'd be black, blue, black. It's a very drab, world.
Yeah, no thanks.
It's much cooler now. Anyway, that's all we got for this week. Hope you all enjoyed that. We'll be back at it regularly for a little bit here. So hope you enjoy that. Thanks for watching, and right on.